This and That with Me and You is a podcast where we discuss some pretty dark and disturbing things.
I talk about true crimes and cults and a lot of death.
And I talk about the creepier stuff like paranormal, supernatural, and cryptids.
Viewer discretion is advised while listening to us. Warning.
All right, let's get into this.
What episode is this?
Well, episode 22.
Episode 22.
And listeners, we are back.
We got married.
Yeah, sorry for the big gap in there, but life came before business in this situation.
Or I guess fun.
Yeah, this isn't really a business, but so
our microphones broke.
Yeah.
Like at the very end of last episode.
Literally, she was like, I was like, what's the word of the day? And she's like, I don't fucking know. Click.
Yep.
Oh, well,
and that
shit.
was it.
Yeah.
So.
And we didn't want to like scream into the freaking computer to do anything else. So we were like, you know what, this is a sign. We need to focus on the wedding, getting everything together.
Which probably was for the best because
it did get kind of hectic. But we got our new microphones, and we're starting off pretty good on this one.
Yeah,
so
we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. So we're not gonna have really any true like stories like we normally do this episode. We'll get back on that one next week.
No, instead we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about the wedding and the honeymoon because we've got some exciting stories.
Yeah.
And we might argue because that's just us.
That's just us.
To clarify, we remember things differently because we process information differently, and we both get passionate about being right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is our last day off.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not looking forward to going back to normal life.
No. And she means tomorrow as of this recording, like, because when y'all hear this, we'll be at work, probably. Yeah. So you want to tell them about our wedding prep and how crazy that got literally last minute?
So, like 3 weeks before the wedding, I messaged the officiant because I had not heard from them. Or honestly, it was like almost a month before the wedding, like 30 days, not a full actual month, but it was like 30 days almost before the wedding.
Right.
I got a hold of the officiant because I hadn't heard from her, and she did not respond.
Yeah.
Until like a week later.
Yeah, and then
and announced that she moved out of state and would not be able to officiate our wedding anymore. Yeah. So then went into the time crunch of finding an officiant.
Which we did find a wonderful woman.
Yes.
So if you're interested in a woman who can officiate your wedding.
And is very thorough and nice.
Yes. We had we had 2 meetings, and then like the day of, she was still asking us specifics for how we were going to do things, who was involved, yada, yada, yada. And it was wonderful, like, because of my logistical brain, I was like, thank God she's being thorough.
Yeah, it was just very last minute, so
yeah, it was very hectic.
It turned into kind of a hot mess, but like, would it be our wedding if it wasn't kind of a hot mess?
I'll give you that, yeah.
Yeah. And then
we got all of our DIY done, and we were pretty like astonished with ourselves because
everything was paid off.
Yeah, like within a month prior to, right after this last episode 21, we had everything paid off and we were set. We
had a little bit of money put aside for the honeymoon. We were ready.
We were all set, and we even like had the kids' outfits, and save for shoes, like kind of everybody dropped the ball on shoes, but because Eli was in black tennis shoes and Annie got some pretty nifty high heels like the day of the wedding. So.
Yeah, not high heels, like little starter heels.
Yeah, I mean, they're kids' versions of high heels. So, but anyway, let's see. And then,
I went to my bachelorette in Rochester with my really good friend of mine, Ryan, and my best friend, Amanda. And we went to this club called Roar.
Rawr.
Roar. Yes.
Rawr.
ROAR. Roar. It is a LGBTQI plus bar with drag shows. And they did have a drag show and a Halloween party going on that. It was the Saturday before Halloween that evening. Got a little nervous once we got there at midnight because that's just me and Amanda's MO to not show up to the bar until midnight. And there
Yeah.
was a line like a half a block long to get in.
No goodness.
But we ended up getting in and it was fucking wild and crazy and danced the night away and had so much fun. Definitely have to go back there.
Yeah.
And then we spent the night at my friend Ryan's house and came back to heal.
Yeah.
Recover from that and get ready for the wedding.
And if you haven't noticed, not a whole lot's changed in our lives because the freaking cat found out the microphone's on and just jingling away over there.
Yep.
But my bachelor party wasn't really much of a party, but my best man and my groomsmen showed up. We went to the bar, shot some pool, shot the shit for a while, and hung out. It was a good time. I mean, it was what I would consider my version of a bachelor party. I had friends, and I played pool, and I had a couple drinks, and I was set. I had a good time. And then I came back and, like, went to bed. But, oh man, though, after all that was said and done, like, we had basically one full day of nothing really particularly going on. I can't say that word, sorry.
Particularly.
Yeah, we didn't have a whole bunch of anything going on. We just took the time to, I don't know, shoot the shit with everybody for a little bit.
My dad showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
hung
then
out with us. My stepmom and sisters came.
Yeah. And then came the day of the wedding, which, listen, okay, for anyone that is doing a DIY wedding, allow me to tell you, 6 hours prior to wedding to set up is not enough.
No.
Holy crap. We were literally down to the minute, like all of our guests started showing up and seating themselves and everything for the actual ceremony.
And we were still
putting it together.
Yeah.
Like my best man,
Thank God. Huge shout out to Jeremy.
Yeah,
he was such a good freaking support system for Stewart for the entire wedding. And we couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah, because so Cassie and I have like kind of brought this up before, is that we like lean on each other during our, I don't know if you want to
when we're really stressed out, we tend to like, we will butt heads if we're both stressed out, but we will still like, I only got 20, you got the extra 80. Like that's the kind of relationship we have. We may not say that verbally, but like all we have to do is look at each other and know.
Yeah. And it'd be like, look, I'm not hot today. And she's like, all right, cool, I got this. And if the other way around.
But the problem is that I was like already in my makeup and couldn't like sweat or do anything. And then
and
we forgot the diaper bag.
Oh, that too, yeah.
And Eli pooped. So, and Chris, my other bridesmaid, forgot the Jello shots that she made for the reception.
Yeah. So there was a lot of hustle and bustle.
So I had to leave like right before the wedding and come back. So I really wasn't there for the setup.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like dictating via phone for little things.
For our non-traditional sense wedding, the one thing we did keep traditional, and it was more me than anybody else, like I was pretty insistent on it. I was like, look, I don't get to see the wedding dress, period, until she walks down the aisle. And let me tell you, for a black wedding dress, it was smoking. I loved it. But that being said, like we're talking 2 minutes till deadline. The officiants already showed up. They're trying to figure out who's going where, when, how. Yeah, doing all this, and I'm still setting shit up on the tables, making sure everything's right. And my best man, Jeremy, listen,
go get dressed.
Straight up, the gods have blessed that man on my part, because he in the Marine Corps was also my saving grace. Like if I was too frazzled, too whatever, needed someone to talk to get it off, he would pull me aside and he'd be like, "Look, knock your shit off. Go fucking fix it." And and actually, right, I don't know. I was getting myself prepared. I got Eli dressed, let him run out to everybody. Everybody thought it was the cutest thing in the world, which helped distract from the delay and everything. And I hollered out from where I was getting dressed, and I was like, "Someone call Jeremy. Tell him to unfuck me." I forgot that like no one else is military, so a lot of people were confused. And somebody straight up went up to Jeremy and was like, "Hey, someone's yelling for you to unfuck them," and he's like, "Oh shit, got it." It's because my shirt wouldn't fit properly, and if anyone is prior military, you understand there's a certain way that your shirt has to go down your pants, otherwise it just is not right. And so he came in, fixed me, and he's like, "Dude, get your ass together, man. It is your wedding day. Stop fucking fidgeting. Get this together." And I tell you what, he was helpful at the strongest need of help.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Shout out to Jason too. Like that man was out there putting stuff together
I
as
know. They
fast
did
as we
so
are.
good too because like they had no idea what they were supposed to be doing. They just went with it and the wedding still turned out pretty great.
Yeah.
Like everything turned out fine.
Like even so we were setting up the tables, and like Cassie had gotten table runners, and all three of us men are like, "Well, they don't match because we've got tulle, we've got fabricish that's black, fabricish that's red, but it's not the same type of fabric as the black. What are we gonna do?" So they came up with like a brilliant idea. We had enough to run the fabricy type of black on what would essentially be facing the dance floor, and then the red over the center of the table, holding it down by our candles, which are our centerpieces and candles, which one centerpiece actually broke, and I'm not sure how.
Eli.
Eli
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 pulled
got a hold
the
of it.
pulled the tablecloth down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Jeremy,
because
that was the one time he broke it. It broke. He I could tell he was frazzled.
Yeah,
because he just didn't want Eli to get hurt.
right.
I think.
But no, that
I
was
get it.
that was right, because Jeremy made the joke. He's like, he's not very good at pull the tablecloth trick yet, and I was like, "Yeah, nope, guess not."
But that's okay because I was running home anyway to get the diaper bag. I was able to grab a
Yeah.
replacement.
hmm Which we wound up putting. So we did kind of like a horseshoe setup around what would essentially be the dancing area, and at the head of the whole area, we set up two tables for the bridal party, and or the wedding party, I should say. And we put our big ass centerpiece up there, which was our homemade candles, and which are
Which
they're made out
turned
of
into
pool
a hot
needles.
mess because my stepmom and dad were like, we don't know where to sit. And I was like, just go sit at the wedding party table
Yeah,
with me. And
yeah,
that made
both.
it so that all the bridesmaids couldn't sit at the wedding party table, but
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
It didn't matter to me.
it didn't matter to you, but like, let me tell you, my groomsmen, they were kind of upset because both of them came up and they're like, "Man, we specifically set this up so it was exactly you, two groomsmen on the side, best man and then groomsmen on the right, and then Cassie and the maid of honor, and then the bridesmaid on the left." Which I mean, Chris had to leave anyway. She was taking the kids trick or treating, so.
Yeah.
But it was still, I understood the frustration. I was like, "Look, guys, I'm sorry. It's just
Yeah.
kind of go with the fucking flow anymore."
Yeah. And then so then the time came to walk down the aisle.
Oh yeah.
And Stewart was fidgeting around with the dang radio. And like so it would have been fine any other time, but I was already in my wedding dress, which was long sleeve, and I had
Mhm.
my makeup on, and I was stuck in the bathroom because nobody could see me. And the bathrooms were so fucking hot. They had the
Yeah.
heat on, and it felt like the heat was only blowing in the bathrooms. It
So
was so fucking hot. It was a
listen,
sauna in there, and I'm just like, just put the fucking music on. I'm hot.
yeah. So our venue was
A firehouse,
it was a fire department's banquet hall. Okay.
but it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was great. It worked out great, yes. But the thing was, like, when the guy walked me through the do's and don'ts of the location, he went ahead and turned the heat on because it had been off that entire time. And it was getting cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was pretty warm for New York, but it was pretty cool for everybody coming from the South.
Yeah.
But I told him, I was like, look, I think like 69 is perfect. We don't need to go any higher than that because it's going to be a lot of body heat. You know, kids are running around. It's going to warm up. We're doing our thing. It's going to warm up. He still set it to 72 degrees. And I'm like, holy crap, we're all going to be roasting in here.
Yeah, it was only hot in the bathroom.
Yeah, which
and
is
I think
weird.
the bathrooms are really fucking hot.
Yeah, even Eli was going, oh, oh, oh. And
Yeah,
I was like, I know, man.
and I was stuck in there while you were fidgeting with the music. And I understand you were trying to make a separate playlist just for the music for us to walk down the aisle, but even then, it didn't work out.
So that's not really what I was trying to accomplish or do necessarily. What I wound up separating our songs for walking down the aisle to later because I realized that if you just hit shuffle on our playlist, they would play again. But that's not what I was doing. I was trying to, because someone had, whoever I handed my phone to so they could hit play and just go with it, they had hit shuffle. And that put everything out of order. So I was trying to put it back in the direct order. And then because you were so frazzled, I was like, fuck it. Listen, here's song 1, 2, 3, and push play. And then I wound up having it in my pocket. And
I walked too fast down the aisle, so it messed up the song, and I think everyone did. So
everyone was pretty hot paced on that one. I'm telling you.
It's
And
fine.
It was a
It's
laugh.
because we didn't do a rehearsal because we didn't have time.
Yeah. I mean, even our
because
officiant
it was last
late.
minute. Yeah.
Even our officiant was running
My
late.
bridesmaid was late. Yeah. Amanda was on time for once
I know.
in her life because she showed up at our house first and left with us.
Right. Because she was like, I don't know if I should get dressed now or not. And I was like, no. We're literally leaving now so we can set up.
Yeah.
Get dressed there because we have, I mean, it's a bathroom. It's not the greatest, but hey.
We used it's like a stall bathroom. It's fine. Like the only people that came in the bathroom while we were getting dressed was family. So
right. I mean, that's pretty much all that was there.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a big deal.
No.
I think actually most of the ladies got dressed in the bathroom.
It wouldn't surprise me.
My mom got dressed in there.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda got dressed in there. Chris came, I think she came in her dress, but I think Lexi changed in the bathroom.
Yeah, Lexi was definitely in a different outfit.
Yeah.
So.
Lexi looked amazing. She looked so gross.
Yeah, I know. So man, walking down the aisle for me, that was, I'm sorry.
You had Eli and Annie in front of you. How did it go?
It was a joke of trying to walk down the aisle. Keeping any kind of coordination was out the fucking window. Because even the officiant was like, okay, so we're gonna do you, then the flower child. I was like, no. Listen, Annie and Eli have to be in front of me so I can catch Eli. Because Annie was starting to dawdle a little bit, but Nana Jude kept her in line.
But she couldn't keep both of them in line.
But she couldn't keep both of them.
No.
And Eli was fucking lost. Because he saw Jeremy. He's gotten used to Jeremy at this point. And I was like, just go to Jeremy. Bring Jeremy the box. Because he's carrying our rings.
Yeah. And Annie's trying to throw rose petals.
Which she wanted to pick up at the same time. And put them back in the basket and then throw them again. And we're like, no. Stop. just throw them for now.
It was fine.
We'll pick it up later.
She's so funny.
And then, so Eli's looking back at me, looking at Jeremy, really confused on who he's supposed to give the box to. And the officiant's like, are we okay? I was like, fuck it. Just walk. And we were setting up, the night before we were setting up, like, making a final decision on what to walk down the aisle to. And there's a song that is very well suited for both of us. It's a country song
Called My
called
Last Name.
My Last Name. And Cassie had said she didn't want country on the playlist. And I was like, oh, skip that. And then we were like talking about it later, and she's like, damn, why didn't we do this one? And Jeremy and I were both like, you said no country.
That's true.
So she's like, oh yeah. So, but and surprisingly, no one spoke out about, truly spoke out, I should say, about us having a non-traditional wedding.
Yeah.
Because let's see, you had one family member actually walk out.
Yes.
But didn't make a scene. Waited until we were done walking down the aisle and everything. Just silently walked out. And the one person we expected to make a scene kept her mouth shut the entire time.
Yeah.
So that was great. And for those that are wondering, no, absolutely no one on my side of the family showed up. So that happened.
Just Jeremy and Jason showed up for you.
Yep. I mean, hey, two closest men in my life, well,
Yeah.
people in my lives, other than you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be fair, my family is your family now too. So they showed up for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, technically. And I mean, you know, people that I didn't expect to show up showed up. Like, so Cassie's mom's best friend, we were awkwardly invited to her son's wedding.
When we don't really know them.
We don't know them at all. Like, hardly.
But we came because...
Yeah, we felt, I mean, there was a slight obligation because of her mom. But we went, we had a good time and all that stuff. And we were like, do we send them an invite? We were told to send them an invite. It's kind of an important thing. We're not sure. So we just invited Cassie's mom's best friend and said, hey, bring the fam.
Yeah.
And that son and his new wife showed up, and I sat down after the wedding was all said and done, and I talked to them about, I was like, I made kind of a really snarky joke about it because they had a very, very expensive wedding.
Very fancy.
Very fancy. And I was like, hey, listen, you know, our diamond nickel wedding, it wasn't anything near yours, but I hope you enjoyed yourself. They're like, no, we're actually kind of jealous. And I'm like, hold the phone.
I think it's because we did everything the way we wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't really any pressure from anybody because we didn't
let them.
Didn't let it.
No.
We snapped back at
everyone. Every little remark, we said we were doing it our way.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, DIY, not the greatest thing in the world.
A lot of stress. But, I mean, I think we broke up the work far enough in advance that it wasn't like we were like...
We had a year of us going, okay, well, this is going to be a DIY because
we couldn't afford it.
Yeah, our very first look at anything, we looked at the venue because, I mean, that's typically what you do. And we were like, no, like one place that would have been phenomenal, they wanted $6,000 just to open the doors because it was on a Tuesday. And I was like, you can shove it because that's not okay.
Yeah. We didn't even spend that much.
No.
On the entire wedding, I don't think.
No, I think
even that and the honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, honeymoon and wedding combined, I think we may have spent $8,000. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe even less.
Maybe less.
Yeah, I know. I said I quoted $5,000 for the wedding, but I think it might have been less.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing a rough guesstimate because, not that it matters. I mean, all of our bills are paid. Matter of fact, we're doing good.
Yeah. A little bit.
Because we got a surprise in there from anybody that was at the wedding that does listen to this. Listen, we greatly appreciate
all of the gifts
because
we got a lot of money.
We got a lot of money.
A lot more than we would have ever expected.
Not that we expected anything, to be honest. Like I was
like, I expected $10.
Yeah, maybe a $10 bill. That was about it.
Yeah.
You know, a few good
Somebody
cards.
did shove just a straight up 20 in the card box.
Pretty sure that was Amanda.
No, I think that was Brittany. Amanda gave us.
Oh, Brittany, yeah.
Amanda gave us a card, a handmade card.
Oh,
a very nice one that you liked.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. It's been a couple weeks since seeing all this. So, because right after our wedding, which, by the way, weirdest thing. Okay, it didn't go as most weddings do, where like you have a big dance party, everybody's getting shit faced and blah blah
It
blah.
was too small, I think.
It
And it
was
was a Tuesday night.
yeah, because
Everybody was like leaving by 6.
yeah, we had reserved the place and they told us we basically had it till midnight. They didn't care. We're like, oh, okay, and so we were like, all right, well, if we can get everybody out the door by 8, we can be done and cleaned up by 8:39, be at the house by 10 and on the road shortly thereafter. Which I was paranoid about being prepared to leave, and it turned out it didn't matter. So, but anyway, everybody, like she said, everybody was out the door by like 6:30, and we're like,
I think we
yeah,
left the venue by 7.
yeah, because my
7:30 maybe.
my best man, my groomsman, her bridesmaid, were all like looking at us and was like, "Hey, there's nobody here anymore," and we're like, "Cool, let's clean up the place and
Get
screw
the
it."
fuck out of here.
And
In
so
fact, we still have alcohol from the wedding in our fridge.
yeah. So yeah, we got everything up and packed, and we came back to the house. My best man stayed at our house for the few days that he was here, and we came back. We kind of had to do a reorganization of who was doing what after we left because Cassie's mom got sick, couldn't watch Eli, so it was a
But
thing.
Chris showed up with a wedding gift of free babysitting for the entirety of
Yeah,
our
shout
honeymoon.
out to our babysitter.
She's
Holy
amazing.
cow. A whole week of free babysitting and literally kept Eli, what, 6 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, greatly appreciated because our rates are normally, we would have not had as much.
Yeah.
So, nothing wrong with her rates. I would just say, like, we
No,
wouldn't have
she's like
had,
very affordable, but
yeah,
it would have been expensive for 6 overnights and full days. Yeah.
yeah. And so we got everything arranged, everything was taken care of. We were on the road by, I want to say we were on the road by 10:30, 11 at night. And we drove straight through because we were told we had to be checked in by a certain time, and I was paranoid as hell we weren't going to make it on time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, forgot there was a time change between New York and New Orleans, so my bad.
Turns out we got there by 6 p.m.
Yeah, we got there really freaking early,
Yeah.
but it was great because we got there, we passed out, and was ready for the next day.
Until.
But hold on, before we get there, hold on. How about we talk about our trip down?
Oh,
Because
we went to Buc-ee's.
yeah, she got to go to her first Buc-ee's in Tennessee.
Yeah, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not anything too super exciting, but it's
No.
like a grocery store sized gas station.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge. It's
Um,
think of like a shopping mall
yeah,
and put a
but
few,
it's a gas station.
yeah, put a ass load of fucking gas pumps in front of it.
Yeah, but it was
And
cool.
mhm.
God, they had some really fucking good jerky,
Oh yeah.
and the food was really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some cool shirts for the kids
Yeah,
and
and
for
I got
us.
one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got one too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, your pink and or your purple and blue tie dye was from Bucky's, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And another shout out to Jason, my groomsman. He listen, truck driver to truck driver, this is a thing. We all tend to know it. We talked about our route on the way down about 17 different times of which way we were gonna Cassie and I were gonna drive straight down.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny is Stewart said for months that he really did not want me to drive through Chattanooga
Yeah.
for months. But
And
then right before we hit Chattanooga, he's like, I can't drive anymore. I need to sleep.
I couldn't. I was
And I
gonna
drove through
collapse.
Chattanooga anyway.
Yeah,
Which it was fine.
I was gonna collapse.
It was a
bad.
lot of traffic, but it wasn't like traffic jams. It was
No,
just kind
and
of
we
hectic.
went through in the middle of the night, so it wasn't. Or well, you went through like right
at rush hour.
Yeah,
right at
at
morning
rush
rush hour. Yeah.
So, but we also didn't go the route I thought we were gonna take for some reason, because
No,
don't
I
know.
just went straight through Chattanooga. I went
Yeah.
straight on through.
For some reason, I was thinking like what I've always had to take, which was 24 to 40 to 44, so on and so forth. It wasn't at all. So we took a different slide through, and it was the easier route. But the reason I was shouting out to Jason was because kind of a running joke with us was that we stop at Love's truck stop, because that's one of our, yeah, it's more appealing to us. And he got me a $50 gift card.
For
Well, got
Loves.
us
Yeah.
a $50 gift card from Love's, and handed us a $50 bill and said, "Here's for gas, here's for food."
Yeah. It was in a
And
card. Yeah. It
yeah,
said that.
and what was funny was because every time I stop in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is where Cassie was born,
Yes.
I make sure that I let her know, "Hey, I'm in Hagerstown again," because inside joke, it's not as far as everybody seems to think it is. And so I bring it up every time, and he knew that we were gonna, like, that was my peg stop. The very first stop I had planned was Hagerstown, and so he got me we got gas in Hagerstown, and she got to short stop in her
Hometown.
hometown. So
Yeah. Now, is that the truck stop where you met your ex?
no,
Okay.
no, that I was at the TA in Baltimore.
Okay. I knew she's from Baltimore, but I just didn't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nope, different side of Maryland.
Yeah.
But
Definitely a different side.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. Um,
What, Hagerstown is Western Maryland?
it is. Yeah, it's right off I-81 exit
And
10.
then Baltimore is like on the bay, which we're not like.
Not even
Hagerstown's
close.
not even close to the bay. Yeah.
No, not even close.
But everybody from Baltimore knows where Hagerstown is because that's where all the prisoners go.
Pretty much.
Yes,
But
it's just like everyone from New York City kind of knows where Auburn is because that's where all the prisoners go.
yeah, yeah, we have
We have maximum security prison in both the towns that I have lived the longest in.
But after that, I mean, we switched over in Tennessee. She got us through Chattanooga, and then I think it was like 2 hours later, she's like, I can't keep it on the road anymore. Like, we gotta stop. I was like, 2 hour nap. I'm good.
Yeah, I feel terrible. I didn't really drive very much at all because like every time he asked me to drive because he needed a nap, I was exhausted as well. So I only did like 2 and 3 hour stretches.
Which was fine. It was a
Yeah,
perfect enough nap
because
for a
the
truck
truck
driver.
is not comfy to sleep in at all. It was
I
very
mean,
hard.
I conked out like a rock,
Yeah,
so
I
I
did
didn't
at one
care.
point apparently.
Oh yeah. Listen, she definitely has a significant acknowledgement of she's sleeping.
Is it like that every night or only when I'm really
Only when
tired?
you're extremely tired.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
You
the
too.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Listen,
The more tired you are, the louder it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I could out snore my big truck at that point.
Yeah.
But so we got all the way down there to New Orleans, checked in at the hotel, and
We had found out pretty early on after we found out what hotel we were going to that the hotel only had valet parking.
yes, and so
We had originally planned on parking at a parking lot and prepaying for the whole week,
mhm,
but we didn't have the money.
yeah, and we also didn't do that because we conversed and were like, you know what, we might wind up having to drive to other places we want to see, so it'd be a waste of money to
Which
park.
we ended up
We
doing.
ended up doing, yes. Um, so didn't do that. Discussed the valet situation when I got there, and it was way more in person than it was quoted on when we just talked about it before.
For
So
valet.
yeah, so I was like, yeah, no, not happening, not at all. And I was suggested to go to this parking garage, like
Right
very small,
directly next to the
yeah,
hotel.
directly next to it, and it was the dinkiest little like warehouse situation, which was fine. It had cameras and everything like that. However, 8 o'clock the next morning, when I had to go down and pay for, like, make sure the paid parking was taken care of, uh, we were broken into.
Yeah, somebody broke the driver's side backseat window.
Hmm. And
I just thank God that the car seats weren't in there.
yeah,
Because like I feel like that could have been like cause for like expiration of the car seats. You guys don't, if you don't have kids, you don't understand. Like just a minor fender bender means your car seats are no longer good. Yeah.
Right.
So like I was I'm just very thankful for that. And then just them being covered in glass, I would probably want to throw them away. Like
Right.
because my baby's sitting them.
And we were actually parked directly across from another couple guys that were in a similar situation to us on the hotel stance because
They
we
were
didn't.
told to park there.
Yeah, we didn't pay for the hotel. It was a
It was a
gift
gift from
to
my
us.
dad.
Yeah, and so they were there under the same grouping, and they also got broken into. We're also suggested to park there, and while I'm trying to get a hold of the police because I have to have a police report for the insurance, so on and so forth, he is on the phone with the hotel management complaining because they're texting us, "Hey, hope you had a thanks for checking in with us, and hope you had a good night." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Yeah, no, about that. You want to fix this?" And of course, they're like, "Oh, we don't have any association with this place, and we wouldn't have never told you to park here." And it's like, "Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you
Whoever
did.
was working on the desk last night told us to park there.
Yep." So the manager, I don't know if anything happened on that front because it didn't affect us either way.
Yeah. But the owner or the manager of the parking lot
Yeah, the owner of the parking garage place that we were at
showed up.
showed up, and turns out it belongs to a law firm. And if there's a spot available, is that how he put it, you were allowed to pay for parking. And he was very chill about it. Thank God, because it could have been a hot mess at that point. But he also knew how long it was going to take to get police out to us to even take care of the
And we
situation.
knew we needed a police report.
Yeah. So he called his own buddy who happened to be the detective, and the guy showed up, got video footage of the break in, and got, they did a thorough search over our vehicle to make sure there wasn't any DNA or anything like
Any
that.
evidence that would be
Yeah.
able to like convict.
Yeah. Which turns
There,
out there wasn't
yeah,
a whole lot, but
there wasn't anything because they
mm-mm.
wore gloves and
Yeah. And they're pretty sure that they stole the vehicle they drove into the garage with. So,
yeah, and you couldn't see the plates in the vehicle in
yeah.
the video anyway because of the way they
Yeah, because they
went in.
backed into the parking, and New Orleans and Louisiana doesn't have front plates, so when they backed in, you couldn't see their plates.
Yeah,
But heads up to anybody who goes to New Orleans for anything.
don't do valet parking.
Well, that too.
Yeah,
But if you have military memorabilia stickers on your vehicle,
it
they're
makes you
gonna
a target.
they're gonna look for guns.
Yeah,
And if you have one of those like nice back rack things, where it looks
or a
like you're or a
toolbox.
toolbox, they're looking for tools. They're
Yeah.
gonna break in and
So they like to break into trucks that look like work trucks
yep,
and
pretty much.
vehicles that look like they have guns in them. Apparently, there's like a gang of them that what they do is they go to like a valet parking spot, break into the key box, steal a vehicle, and then go around all the parking garages and parking lots and break into vehicles looking
Right.
for guns and tools because they can make quick money on those things.
Yep.
That's what the police and the locals pretty much told us.
Yeah. And so we spent several hours there waiting to get all that handled.
And then I ended up getting a call
Yeah.
from I don't know exactly if my dad got the hotel room for free or what the case may be, but basically we had to go to a time not a timeshare. Yeah, a timeshare presentation
Yeah.
as a part of our hotel stay.
Right. And oh my God, that one was frustrating. It was great initially. Like we were like, oh, this is going well. I mean, it's great. We already know we can't afford it anyway, even if we wanted to. But
It sounds like a great program. We just
yeah,
like just looking at the presentation, we knew it was something we couldn't afford.
right. But getting to that, we stopped at a wonderful restaurant. There's a place up here in New York that is affiliated with this place, but in New Orleans, it's called a Spiritu. That was on point Hispanic Latino food.
Oh my god, was it so fucking good? And they
Yeah.
had Cajun in the mix. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
The if you go there, get the Cajun queso.
Yeah.
If you're not allergic to seafood, get the
Right.
Cajun queso.
Oh
Oh my
yeah.
fucking
It
god.
was it was really good, and we had carne.
carne asada
asada.
tacos, which were so fucking
They
good.
were super dinky, but damn, we were like stuffed by the end of that. It was
Yes.
crazy. And ooh, fair warning to people who are not heavy drinkers, um, Mexican alcohol of any fashion is potent,
Yes.
very potent.
Yes. Yes.
Because we each so
Ordered a drink.
Cassie was like, "Oh, it's a morning coffee with liquor in it. It'll be fine." The
Because
ice
it
cube,
was like 11 a.m.
the ice cube was the coffee.
Yes.
Okay.
There was like a big, the big square cubes that you can get the
Mhm.
molds for. It was a big square cube of ice and it was coffee. That was the coffee, and the rest was liqueur and liquor.
Yeah,
The whole drink.
yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking strong. It was
It was
good
strong.
though.
Yeah, and I don't remember what exactly
It
I
was something with
got.
pumpkin. I
Yeah,
remember
it was
that.
something with pumpkin. It was one of their Halloween specials.
And it was good.
It was really good. And
But it was strong as fuck.
Cassie drank my drink too,
Yeah.
which turned out to be a running pattern because she either spilt my drinks or she was drinking my drinks for me. So I didn't get to drink a whole lot. Not that I was
Sorry.
planning on it, because, like, yes, I wanted to drink, but
He doesn't like to get so drunk that he doesn't have control.
that too. But I also, like, once our truck got broken into, I was like, okay, I'm driving. So
Yeah. Once we got the window fixed.
yeah, which the insurance set that up immediately. So
Yeah.
we were
The next day it was fixed.
yeah. Next day it was fixed and no out of pocket costs, so it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wow. Anyway,
We went to a Spiritus. That was amazing.
mhm,
Also, the vibes and the what is it called? The aesthetic
yeah,
was that restaurant is just beautiful in itself. They did an
right.
amazing job in there. I have pictures. So beautiful. We'll have to put them on the video if we have time.
Oh yeah, I plan on inputting
Some pictures
several
from
of
the
our pictures
honeymoon.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you want to find our pictures, okay, like, because Cassie posted all of them. If you look for our personal Facebooks, you can find our pictures,
Yeah.
especially Cassie's, because she's the one that posted everything, but she tagged me, so it's all there.
So we go to that presentation, which I got called out like a teacher calling me out, told me to put my fucking phone down.
Yeah.
I'm 32 years old. I felt like I was 15 in that moment. But anyway, also, she pissed us off because there was a couple with a toddler in there and they kicked them out because the toddler was being disruptive.
Now,
So that made us mad.
To explain that a little bit further, okay, so this whole situation turned into a hot mess pretty quick for all of us. There was like 6 couples, basically, including ourselves, that were sitting through this presentation.
And the dude that got broken into across from us.
And the dude that got broken into was sat with us too.
We were just hanging out with him because, hey, we know you from somewhere. Like, we know you from being broken into.
Yeah. And so the presenter of this whole PowerPoint presentation, basically, was, she flat out asked all of us if we were uncomfortable with the toddler, young, still in a stroller situation.
And we said,
being louder.
Everybody said no.
Everyone's like, no, it's fine. We understand. We all have kids of some age, been there, done that. It's fine.
And he wasn't really being that
wasn't.
bad.
No, he was just
goo guy.
Yeah, he was getting his babbles out. It wasn't even a big deal.
Oh shit, Eli talks more than that.
Yeah, and he wasn't even loud either. That was what was upsetting me, was he wasn't loud.
Yeah.
Like, our kids would have been freaking echoing.
Ah!
Yeah. And so when she kicked them out, like, all of us kind of had this grumble to us. We were like, we're done.
Yeah.
You done killed the vibe. We're done. And
she had huge tits. Sorry.
Oh,
I couldn't stop thinking about it. They were like spilling out of the dress because she had one button-up dress.
Yeah.
And they just looked like they were really constricted in there.
Oh my God.
Let them free.
At least I wasn't the one paying attention to that. So anyway, we did the presentation, and then we had to go on this guided tour
of the hotel.
But before I get to that point, big pestering bitch point for both of us. We brought up the fact that our hotel room was basically an overpriced Super 8. Yes. Because we had 2 full-size beds and a shower. That was about it. We didn't even have a fucking microwave.
Which is fine.
It's fine.
But they said that our hotel was one of their affiliates.
Yeah.
And then they went on this whole spiel. They showed a picture of a layout of a hotel. I don't know
Mhm.
why I'm using my hands. They showed a picture of a layout of a hotel room and a normal hotel room, which was the same as our hotel room.
Yeah.
And then they showed a layout of their affiliates' hotel rooms, which is more of a condo.
Mhm.
Okay? And they said that none of their affiliates, none of their hotels are like that tiny hotel room that they showed, and they all were condos. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
our hotel room looks like that.
And the guy that got broken into, he's staying at the same hotel we are. We're like, but that's what we're in.
And then they go on to say that all of their hotels have on the property free parking.
Right, which
is also not fucking true.
Yeah.
As we just went over the whole parking situation at the hotel we were at.
Yeah.
And when we pointed those two things out, they're like, oh, that hotel's not affiliated with us. The hotel's name was on the fucking list of affiliates.
Right. And even the other guy that got broken into was sitting beside us. He's pointing at the screen and he goes, ma'am, the logo is in bright purple right there on the screen.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, no, and clicks right off the screen,
mm-hmm.
like to the next slide. And which was funny because it was still on the slide at the bottom.
Yes.
It was like, it's still there. You can't get rid of it.
And then, so we sit through that, what was it, like an hour and a half?
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hour long presentation. But then we had to do a freaking walkthrough
of the hotel that we were at, not the one we stayed in, the one where they did the presentation, which was the Marquee. Beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
They hyped up the swimming pool that was like 5 feet 5, the size of like smaller than my kid's pool, a kiddie pool. It was small. Yeah, it was like 5 by 5. It was teeny tiny. They hyped that shit up like it was. I mean, it was a rooftop pool, but it was dinky. Like 3 people could get in it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
Yeah. But the hotel itself was beautiful. They had this little adult playground in the courtyard with adult-sized swings and rocking chairs and a fire pit. That was cool.
So that little area was like, think of like a picnic table, but the chairs are swings.
Big swings, yeah.
And rocking chairs, like really like elaborate rocking chairs were
brightly
nice.
Colored. Like it was like all one piece.
Yeah.
Like not wood, like plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all pretty nice though.
It was really cool. And they had like marquee written in flowers on the wall. It was cool. Like then they showed us like it's essentially kind of reminded me of a break room the way you got in.
Yeah.
But it was like a condo, but instead of bedrooms, it had a pool table and a bar basically.
Yeah.
That was like
it was a lounge.
Yeah, it's their lounge. So like if you're a member and you're in town, you can use the lounge whenever you want.
Yeah.
As a member of their whatever. And it was cool. And they showed us one of the rooms, which really, I mean, it was a nice room. And it was definitely like a condo type situation. It had a full kitchen. But it wasn't like, I wasn't like flabbergasted by it.
No.
Like, you know,
there was nothing.
It didn't take my breath away.
Nothing super.
The balcony was like the one thing that I was excited about because I love a good view. And the view we had at our hotel was a parking lot. Like,
we were in the warehouse district, so we were staring right down at construction.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like a good view, but at the same time, we spent like literally 0 time in the hotel room. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, we slept there. That was about it.
Yeah.
And so that presentation went on long.
It was supposed to be 2 hours, but it turned into 4 hours.
Yeah. And then they were like
pressuring us super hard to buy in.
So the person that took us on the walking tour, like we were flat honest with them. We're like, listen, we're on our honeymoon. We're not paying anything right now. Period. It's not happening. We have
a tight budget. But her and I were like clicking on a different level, like talking about being moms and like similar interests, like true crime stuff. We were talking about some of that stuff. We ended up gabbing for quite a bit about stuff.
Yeah.
And I think she realized that she got like kind of a hold of my empathy in that way because us becoming friendly like that makes it harder for me to say no.
Yeah.
And I think she saw that. And so after Stewart said no, they started kind of to zero in on me. And then Stewart showed me the time and we had reservations at 7 and we still had to eat dinner for a walking tour.
Yeah. And we had walked that day.
Yeah. And it was 4:00 and I'm like, we have to go.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
And they tried to do one of the, it's the sales pitch of them
Yeah,
all.
they kept bringing the
You
numbers
gotta,
down further
oh,
and
we can
further.
work the numbers lower. We can work the numbers lower. And she had to call her manager in, which I understand. It's part of the process. So I was like, okay, you got to go through the bit. It's whatever. But her manager was like, okay, well, we can work this down. What is your like lowest number? And at that point, I was super agitated. So I was like, okay, my lowest number, you ready? I'm going to give you 25 to $50, maybe. And
A month.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she never came back.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah. Like we really can't afford another bill. And like
No.
the first one they pitched us was like a $50,000 basically financing $50,000 for this membership.
Yeah.
And it was like $800 a month. Who the fuck can afford that?
I mean, that's our truck payment.
Yeah,
I was
like
like, we wouldn't be able to afford that for another 3 to 4 years.
yeah. This is
So
not and it, I mean they brought us some lower numbers that are a little more feasible. It's just like not right
it's
now.
not the time.
And the
Yeah.
thing that was upsetting to me is they kept going on about how we weren't going to get that offer again, and I'm like,
You probably will.
you're like at they are affiliates with Bass Pro Shops. My mom works there. There's a Bass Pro Shops not even a 10-minute drive from us. They have a fucking salesperson for the travel agency right fucking there all day.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, they're gonna give me some kind of deal if I
Yeah,
decide to sign up.
exactly.
Like, so like,
So we finally got out of there. And then, of course, me being extremely thorough and making sure we're on time and stuff like that, okay, I was probably pushing a little too hard, I'll admit. However, this was not entirely my fault. I programmed what time our tour started in in the calendar, like on our phone. So we got a reminder that 30 to 45 minutes early, hey, we need to start heading that way. It didn't switch time zones with us. The calendar didn't.
so
So we were an hour fucking early.
but that's okay because we
Yeah.
had time to eat.
Yeah, we were able to go walk off and eat.
And we went to the Vampire Cafe,
Mhm.
which was phenomenal.
Yeah, we both got their like two. They had two options for burgers, and we each got one version. She got one, I got the other.
Yeah, you got like a more like plain traditional cheeseburger.
Yeah, it
I
was.
got like the burger with all the shit on it.
Yeah, mine was essentially like a regular cheeseburger, but it had sautéed onions on it, and the hamburger meat is mixed with roast meat.
Yeah, so
It-
was mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was funny on the menu. It actually said rare is you have to tell them if you want it other than rare because it's a vampire thing, bloody. So it was kind of cool. But
A lot of cool pictures from
a
that.
lot of cool
Not a lot of
pictures.
cool pictures. A couple of cool pictures from that place, but it was fucking cool.
Yeah, with our meal and everything, she got, what was that blood bag thing?
So they had two different kinds. They had blood bags, which I've had before. Like I purchased them from Amazon for Halloween parties.
Mm-hmm.
But theirs had like the name of the restaurant sticker on it.
Right.
So I wanted it as a souvenir. I got the first one I got was like a pomegranate vodka with like a strawberry lemonade. So it was like really blood red.
Yeah.
I forget what they called it, but we went there a second time and they had their signature sangria, which they call fangria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she got that. I got a rum and coke because I wasn't trying to go too off the rails. And I mean, we did that and then went to eat. I mean, went to the tour, which all the tours were great. But thing is about the tours, one, every tour we took was from the same tour place except for like two.
Yeah.
And those were not even ghost tours. They were just, one was the cemetery walk through from Marie Laveau's cemetery,
And then we had booked in advance the voodoo
museum.
Yeah.
And so we took all these ghost tours, and we came like our tour guide. Turns out we were on his for multiple.
Yeah.
And we got to chat with him pretty good, and he like suggested many things. And listen, if you go to Ghost City Tours of New Orleans, ask for Christian, like like the religion is what he says, and you will have a blast.
Yeah, he's great.
He's
He's really
very,
knowledgeable and funny.
yeah, very high tempoed kind of person, but he keeps your attention throughout all of it.
And he was really good with the comebacks with the stupid drunk
Oh
people walking
yeah,
by.
people. It's like a thing
In
for
New Orleans,
locals
I guess.
apparently.
Which I noticed there are a lot of walking tours through New Orleans
Oh
doing like the
yeah,
ghost tours. Like a lot.
yeah.
Like, I mean, when I looked into it, because like when we had decided, like, hey, we should see if there's like any like ghost stuff in New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans since it's
It's
pretty
New
fucking
Orleans.
haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I realized there was a lot. And looking into them, like, there was walking, bus tours, like you could ride a horse and buggy tour,
Yeah.
all ghost tours. But like the Ghost City tours was the most affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had like multiple different tours featuring multiple different things. And I was like, oh, we'll just buy one of each through them
Yeah.
and hopefully cover everything. Which the only thing that we really didn't get to learn about was like the vampires of New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah.
And just a heads up to anyone that might go take these tours.
They
Ghost of
overlap.
Well, yeah, they do overlap, but the Ghost of New Orleans tour and the Bad Bitches tour are pretty damn much the same.
Yes.
But
One's
one's more appropriate.
family friendly and one's adult.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And so obviously shout out to Christian, like the religion, for his optimal performance for us and all of his magnificent freaking suggestions, because we found the Museum of Death, which we didn't even know existed.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. And he told us about the different voodoo boutiques and stuff like, or not boutiques,
Voodoo shops and like,
yeah,
different
and
things.
all that. But also during the pub crawl, we met JJ, and it was great. She's a historian.
Yeah. And she
And
debunked so much stuff. And
she
like, she was
debunked his
just,
stuff, and like, she connected with us, because you try to like talk and get to know things about the area you're
you're
doing
moving
stuff.
ahead really far.
Oh yeah, I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. I'm sorry. But
Anyway, so we went on the first walking tour, and
right.
I don't remember what all of it entailed, but I do know that we went to the Lalaurie house
We
for the
went to
first
that one on
walk-in.
every single
Yes. We went to Lalaurie.
one. Every single person pronounced it differently.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, we went to that house for every tour. Remember that.
yeah, most
for
of them.
sure. As we
And
get into the story.
another house that was brought up, well, not really a house, but another place that was brought up on every single tour was the building. I'll just call it the building because I don't know what it is necessarily anymore. But the building that was used for the TV show, The Originals.
It's like a restaurant, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe something. I don't know. But it was brought up in every single tour because everyone's like, hey, I'm sure you've heard of The Originals or the vampire stuff, Vampire Diaries, which is because The Originals is a spinoff of Vampire Diaries. And then like people were starting to look it up and stuff like that. And Cassie and I got into like an argument over this.
Which house it was, but there's like 15 different houses that look like that. So we're really not sure who's totally right there.
Because I took pictures of the building because I was like, yeah, I've watched The Originals because I'm a weird vampire nerdy kid. So
but then you remembered you were thinking of a different
Originals. I was thinking of the movie The Originals, not the TV series, because I was like, when they were bringing up stuff that happened in the series, I was like, that's not in that. And then he said series, and I'm like, oh, we're talking about two different things. So
anyway, we learned about these really cool spikes
that
are on
the Romeo and Juliet spikes.
A lot of the buildings. We'll put some pictures of them. But basically, those spikes are there from like, so some of the things, backtrack here. A lot of things that we learned, one of the things we did learn was New Orleans burned down completely twice.
Basically, completely.
Yeah, yes. In the 17 and 1800s. And they suffered really badly from yellow fever and syphilis.
That's where Bring Your Dead Out came from.
Yeah, bring out your dead, because they learned that they could not bury their dead in the dirt in New Orleans pretty quickly, because once it rained, because they're on sea level there, everything kind of dug itself up,
Yeah.
and
They
it
were
started to
finding them.
become a problem of what the fuck do we do with these dead people from yellow fever.
Yeah.
And so people started just throwing dead bodies out in the street because they didn't know
Mhm.
what to do with them, or started burying them in their walls and their floorboards. And to this day, when they renovate, they still find dead bodies in
Yeah.
buildings. But the city's been rebuilt several times, but every time it's been rebuilt exactly the same.
Yeah. They're not the
And
original structures, however, they are about as on point as they're gonna get.
yes, so those hauntings don't go away just because the
No.
buildings were burnt down or flooded out.
Yeah.
So they have the spikes. They have these poles holding up the balconies.
Mhm.
Okay. And on the top of these poles are these interesting looking spikes. And the story that we were told is that those spikes are there because they would have, you have a business downstairs, upstairs is where you live. That's the way it was. Or
Mhm.
they would have downstairs would be like their living room, kitchen, dining room, just as a regular house, and upstairs is bedrooms. So like you have your daughter upstairs sleeping, a boy comes climbing up those poles, pretty easy to climb up. They're not that high. What, like 6 feet?
Uh, More than that,
Yeah,
but
but I mean they have like the little beveling on them for you to put, like you could put your feet on them too.
yeah, straight up, you could climb up that pole without a problem. But that was the running joke or running thing about it. It wasn't the getting up that was the problem because you scurried up there, whatever. But Dad's gonna come meet you with a shotgun or something of the nature.
And you're going to be scurrying down naked and get
Yep,
all your
and
kibbles and bits caught on them.
yep, and whatever gets
Hooks
caught gets
yanked off.
yeah. And so it was kind of funny because we had three different tour guides, and each one of them had a different way of stating that same story.
But
Christian's was you go up a Romeo, you come down a Juliet, because
yeah,
that was a Romeo and Juliet thing, and I thought that was hilarious because I'm weird like that.
yeah, they're called Romeo spikes.
Yep. And then, um, Laura, I don't know. Anyway,
Lisa.
Lisa, she said, well, she just provided the facts. She didn't really have like a quibby joke for it or whatever. So it was. And then JJ, she was like, I don't really like the Romeo and Juliet because she was very forward thinking. So she presented it and she's like, we don't have to discuss this, but if you're not aware, what sticks out does not stay out.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, got that fact.
Anyway, so the spikes. Then I was kind of disappointed. Nobody talked about the Axeman. So now I need to look into that and see what the fuck that's about.
Right.
But they talked about a lot of hauntings, one of which is this restaurant they have called Muriel's.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't remember the backstory of what the building was before.
I think it was a residential area.
But basically, they have a ghost there who likes to smash expensive bottles of wine.
Very
expensive. And champagne.
Yeah.
And so they have a reserved table for him in the back.
Yeah.
With wine that they pour fresh every day.
And we actually had to, so they gave us an opportunity to take pictures, which turned out windows were a little grimy. And what we were seeing from the window was not what the tour guide was discussing. Because I don't remember which one actually said that. I want to say it was Christian, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. But anyway, we ended up trying to go there for like an early dinner. And they were like, oh, we're closed until 5.
Yeah.
The kitchen's closed till 5. The bar's only open. So we were like, oh, can we see like your reserved table in the back for the ghost? And they were like, sure. So, and then Christian recommended that if you did go there to eat, that you grab a drink at the bar and go upstairs to the seance room.
Yeah, which isn't actually a seance room. It's just what they call it.
It's a lounge, a very fancy lounge.
Very fancy lounge.
And it was very peaceful and beautiful up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. I got pictures, and you can like look down at the restaurant area from kind of like
balconies.
Yeah, it's like a balcony, but it's like an open area to the
Those are
restaurant.
courtyards.
Yeah,
Courtyards.
kind of
Yeah.
like a courtyard setting. It was really fancy and really neat. And we do have pictures of the table that's preset for
Their
because
ghost. I can't remember his name.
yeah, because the thing is about the ghost is that like once he was getting his attention, he stopped breaking things. But now you apparently like will get your name whispered in your ear if he overhears the conversation or something, and will like tap on you as a running joke. Like you look over your shoulder and it's like, haha, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So it was really fun to see all the stuff. I mean, we didn't really experience anything, although what we did experience, we didn't
We'll get
find
there.
out until later.
Yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, what's another good story we learned on that first tour? Well, the Lalaurie
the
house.
the Lalaurie, but before we get there, because there's running 3 4 tours with that, the pharmacy was
Oh, the pharmacy. Yes. So there is a pharmacy in New Orleans. Well, it's not a pharmacy anymore. It's a pharmacy museum,
right.
but it was the first licensed pharmacy in the United States.
Hmm.
And it's haunted. And it's
Hmm.
highly suggested that if you are a pregnant woman, to not go there
Yeah.
because so the original owner of the pharmacy was actually a do-gooder who was just trying to do better for the world and actually couldn't get anybody to like do experimentation on to further modern medicine, so he experimented on himself
Yeah.
and did further modern medicine doing so.
Right.
But as he got older, he decided to sell the place, and he sold the place to a not so good person who
Hmm.
decided to try to learn advances in modern medicine on C-sections,
Yeah.
and did so by kidnapping enslaved women who were pregnant and
Right.
forcing C-sections upon them. And
And what we were told during Lisa's tour, she went into more in depth on it, was that this individual during the yellow fever time would actually pay off the people that, bring out your dead. He would pay them off that if they saw a pregnant black woman, possibly enslaved at the time, just knock them out, bring them to the back door, drop them off, and he'd do his business.
yeah, and they would come pick it up whenever it was pickup time.
Right.
No questions asked.
No
Yeah.
question asked. And there was all kinds of crazy stories that went along with it, and it was disturbing. Like even I don't know. I don't want to say like even as a man.
Even as desensitized as we might be
That's
to
a
that kind of stuff.
that's a good
Yeah.
way to put it. As desensitized as I am, even I was getting the cringes because I was like, "Oh my god, what
Yeah.
the hell?"
Yeah. So that place is a museum where they have a lot of interesting information about like enslaved people in New Orleans and about just medicine in
In medicine,
general.
yeah.
And they had some really like they had so many artifacts of old timey medical
Hmm.
devices. Crazy. They
Fun
had
fact.
these
Fun fact about the place.
anal dilators.
Oh no, wasn't going there. I
They were
was not
supposed
going
to
there.
help you like with stomach or
Yeah, I don't
stuff.
know.
I don't fucking know. You'll see in the pictures.
Fun fact about the place, though, is that there are these globes out front of the pharmacy. And if they're rainbow colored, it means that this area is safe, no major infection or whatever going on. However, if they're red, a deep red, it means that there is some form of contagion or
Infectious
plague or
disease.
infectious disease, whatever, in the area. They are currently still red because of COVID, and they will change them back as soon as we're all in the clear.
Yeah.
Whoever knows how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
But
I will say they had this old ass fucking birthing. Well, it doesn't even look like a birthing chair. It looks like just a chair that you would like you go when you go to the OB's office, okay? It
mm,
looks like one of those chairs with the stirrups. Like the bed that I was in the hospital when we were waiting,
mm-hmm.
that was like the same bed I gave birth on.
Yeah,
That was going to give birth on to Annie until it turned into an emergency C-section. Like it was
right.
just a normal hospital bed.
Yeah.
However, this table had a hole where your butt would sit. which
Yeah.
led me to believe it was for birthing and to catch shit.
Yeah. I was thinking
And
kind of like the placenta might fall in there or something, but
hopefully not the baby.
yeah, because it looked like literally just a hole in the table that was directly right
Yeah, it
outside the
looks like
legs.
the same kind of table that you would go into the OB's office, like an old one from the 80s is what it looked like. Same kind of table from when you go to the OB's office with the stirrups and all,
Hmm.
except for where you would sit your little tushy was a big old hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a lot of interesting tools, and to find out that like
Seeing the
old,
birthing tools was kind of freaky and cringy.
yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Um, my fascination of it was the fact that old timey medicine was handed out like a bar. Like it is set up like a modern day bar. You walked in, you ordered what you wanted, he'd slide down the bar, fucking grab it and
Oh
plop it on
yeah.
the counter, and there you go.
Hmm.
And they have a they have a picture of, or I have a picture of the book that they have in there. It is one of like two that is still in pristine condition. It is a script book that's linen.
It has all
He
these tiny little
Tiny
pockets.
little pockets, and he would roll up, the pharmacist would roll up the prescription for whoever it was and slide it in there so that they could like refer back to it the
Their
next
records,
visit.
yeah.
It was really cool.
Hmm.
And
We learned about a lot of old timey medicines that were not.
yeah, not so
Yeah,
good.
cocaine.
Yeah,
Mostly a lot of cocaine.
mostly a lot of cocaine. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
And then a lot of good herbal remedies too.
yeah.
Let's not lie there.
So okay, so
And
here
not so good ones.
let's get to the actual ghosties part, okay? Because this is the interesting statement. Okay, so Lularie, Lallery,
Lalaro,
Lala,
Lallery,
whatever,
whatever.
freaking brain soup lady.
Yes. We'll
Okay,
talk about her, and then we need to talk about Rory Laveau and the Voodoo
right.
Museum.
Okay, so without getting into the story, because I know Cassie and I both want to do a version of that story.
Yeah.
Very famous house, very horrific incident.
You probably have seen American
Probably
Horror
seen about
Story
it, heard
or
about it.
heard about her in
Yeah,
some form or fashion. You just may not remember her name.
right. So each time we went there,
Madame Dauphine.
mhm,
Delphine. I know that's the first name. There's more before the
there's a
Lalaurie.
long. She has a
Yeah,
long name. So each time we went there, Cassie had an occurrence,
an issue,
an
we'll
issue.
say. The first time, I just I had a bad feeling in my gut when we were there, but
Hmm.
it was like, well, we're in New Orleans, haunted shit. I get my gut never fails me when it comes to bad shit. So I was like, it'll be okay. I'm with my man. I'm prepared. We got this. Like,
Hmm. Second time,
second time, I had a few drinks in me.
flat out got sick.
And I was pretty tipsy, but
Hmm.
I still had control of my body.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as soon as we get to the Lalaurie mansion and she starts spreading her spiel, I'm like, I can't even fucking stand it anymore. I'm shit faced.
Yeah.
My stomach's hurting. The world starts spinning. Everybody knows
Yeah.
there's only two things you can really do when the world starts spinning. One is puke. Two is lay in the bed with one foot on the floor and one hand on the
Hmm.
floor. Didn't have a bed. It was time to puke. I pulled myself aside from the group because I wasn't going to just puke next to everybody while they're trying to have a good time. I know they still saw me, but
Oh
like,
yeah, everybody turned their heads.
I pulled myself aside, forced myself to puke because I cannot puke of my own volition. I can't. I don't know. It doesn't come up on its own. I gotta make it happen.
Hmm.
Fingers gotta go down the throat. Otherwise, the world won't stop spinning.
Right.
So force myself to puke, get my bearings back, walk back to the Lalaurie mansion. Still feel like shit. 2 minutes later, we walk away from the Lalaurie mansion. I take a sip of Coca-Cola, my cure all, and I'm back to normalcy.
Hmm.
Perfectly sober, fine.
Yeah. And then the last time was, you didn't get sick, but you definitely had like the wheezy, not feeling so good feeling, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I didn't have to like run off and tell the freaking tour guide, hey, listen, I'm gonna go get her something to eat real fast. I'm sorry. because she was like, "Oh, it's fine." But now here's the interesting thing. Okay, tour guide Christian makes a statement before the tour. If you're gonna be sick, whatever, just give us a shout out, because almost every single tour, someone falls out. Doesn't explain why, doesn't explain when it happens, nothing. That's just a statement. Lisa tells us after walking there to the Lollery house, get done with Cassie's sickness and start
And
walking
like
off.
we go to the next stop, then we leave that stop, we're going to the next stop. And
Yeah,
she's like, hey, somehow we ended up in the front of the group with her.
yeah.
Hey, I noticed you weren't feeling good at the Lollery Mansion. Are you okay now? I was like, actually, I feel perfectly fine since we left that place. She was like, well, now that we're away, gotta tell you, it doesn't happen every time, but at least twice a month, someone gets sick at the Lollery Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, they usually pass out. And
Yeah.
she's like, you got lucky though, you didn't pass out. I was like, no, I'm not that type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The running joke with Lisa, the rest of it was that if they see Cassie getting sick, just let her know because there must be a ghost present.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about our
My gut.
our previous experiences with any might be paranormal situation, and then with JJ, our last tour guide, um, she brought that up too. She was like, that's where everyone falls out. If you're gonna be sick, if you're gonna be drunker than you've ever been, whatever, it's at the Lollery house.
So you should tell a story about the owners of the Lollery house because you remember it better.
Okay, which
Because it's
one?
interesting. Like after
Okay,
Delphine
okay.
Lollery left.
So after Lollery's story takes place and all this stuff. Okay, um, interesting fact is that basically all but two people have never been able to maintain ownership of the Lollery house for more than 2 years. It's kind of like a running idea that it's cursed
Yes.
because there was like a furniture shop, there was like
It
a
was a
bookstore,
bar.
and a bar. Of all places, the French Quarter, a bar couldn't hold ground.
Right.
So it's really interesting. Then Nicolas Cage comes along. He owns it for a while, and it was like it was a longer stint. I don't remember exactly how many years, but the interesting thing that they brought up was exactly 2 years after purchasing the Lollery house. Oh, movies start failing. The IRS is coming after him. All this crazy shit's going down. So it was on point, and he lost the place. Then now the current owner is an oil tycoon. He's had it for over 13 years now, which is an impressive feat all itself. However, he doesn't technically live there.
He only goes there on Halloween and throws a huge
Right.
party, which we missed by a day.
Yeah, by a day.
To
But
be fair, we were getting married.
here's another coinky dink on the 2 year mark. Guess what happens 2 years after purchase date?
BP oil spill.
BP oil spill. And Christian made the joke. He's like, yeah, it was pretty much like, fate just telling, F you, New Orleans, for letting anyone purchase this house. So,
Yeah.
but I
The
mean,
curse.
yeah, it's definitely the curse of Lalaurie for sure. And they talk about how, like, sometimes you still hear screams and stuff like that, even though it's not occupied. It's really crazy. But that's a different story for a different time.
Yeah, I got the story about the real Lola Reed to tell, and you have the story to tell about the ghosts.
The ghost, for sure.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Okay, so that was the first night. Um, first night, let me tell you, first day, first night, we learned our lesson. We walked over 3 miles in the first day.
Yeah.
Easily.
Kicked our asses.
Yeah, and we were like, our feet were hurting because I had purchased brand new boots. Regretted that decision. We had to walk after walking all the way from, I don't know, we had to walk like a mile from
The hotel to get to the
hotel
French
to
Quarter.
it was a hotel to get food to get to our meeting. I guess our freaking presentation was basically a mile, and then we had to walk 0.9 miles to get to the tourist spot. Then we walked to food. Then we did the 2 hour walk, or hour and a half walking tour.
Yes.
Then we were like, oh, we should probably get some food. So we walked to get food. And then we walked 0.9 miles back to the hotel. And we're like, fuck this, we're driving. Because the next morning.
Oh, the first tour was the Killers and Thrillers, where
That's
they
right.
talked about the true crime of New Orleans.
That's right.
Which
yes.
is why Lalaurie was mentioned, because it is a true crime story.
It is a true crime story.
And then he did the story of Zach and Addie, which I probably will never do. So we can touch on it a little.
But that was actually our good point connection with Christian.
Because he was very respectful. If you know the story of Zach and Addie, it is about a war veteran from the war in Afghanistan.
Yeah, one of them.
It
was during Katrina, so take that.
Before Katrina, he was in the military. Yeah. He was dishonorably discharged. I think it was discharged, not dishonorably.
You're discharged from the military either way. It's just what code of discharge.
Gotcha.
So, but I don't remember how he was discharged, but there was aspects of that story that rarely get told. Yeah. Because it's just a horrific event.
Yeah. Basically, they went through Katrina together, and they stayed during Katrina and helped the people that stayed. Yeah. And they basically lived in like homelessness or dystopia, whatever you want to call it, like while the city was trying to rebuild itself. And one thing he didn't bring up that was something Bailey Sarian brought up was that part of what made Zach snap was like not being needed anymore because Katrina was over.
He didn't bring it up during the tour, but
we talked about it later.
Yeah.
But anyway, Zach snapped, killed his girlfriend in a very violent, horrific way, and cut up her body and cooked it and killed himself.
The connection that we made with Christian, though, was that he very respectfully and carefully presented the PTSD aspect.
Veterans specifically. PTSD.
Combat PTSD specifically. And I was appreciative. I'm not truly a combat vet. I'm not. I didn't see full-on combat like most people think. But I've seen some shit. And I appreciated his respect towards it. Yeah. And I wanted to let him know that afterwards, and that's where we got our connection with him and was talking way more than we should have.
Yes, and ended up kind of like awkwardly following him.
Yeah, because we had to go back to where we started from,
so we could figure out how to get back. We were.
Yeah, and so we just kind of like followed him back and chatted the whole way, and that's when we learned about other places to go, and it was fun. Then the next morning we went and.
And he told us about the Vampire Speakeasy that night. And he had recommended the Vampire Cafe, but it's literally on the corner next to the tour store. So like we already tried it because it was the closest restaurant.
Right.
But he recommended the Vampire Boutique, which is behind the Vampire Cafe, but we didn't notice it.
Yeah. And the reason why these were recommended is because this is where you get your invite.
To the Vampire Speakeasy.
Yep. Which I have to make a public announcement. We were asked not to post an invite,
which we will not.
Yeah, we were not allowed to post it online
but we did
any social media, and so we're respecting that. But we do have it. We have a copy of it. So
yeah,
for a little hopefully scrapbook in the future.
Yeah. And he also recommended a really cool bar called The Dungeon, which was awesome.
So that's
like
a later
the last
day.
Night, yeah.
Yeah, that was a later day. So we'll get there in a minute.
We had everything really tightly booked. So the second day was the Voodoo Museum.
Yeah,
which
had to get hold on. First thing was getting the window fixed.
Yeah.
So we went there and found out that apparently people in New Orleans don't know what coffee is.
At least not the Burger King there.
The Burger King or the gas station.
No. Oh my God. So I ordered an iced coffee, already knowing that Burger King's iced coffee is too sweet for me because they premix the creamer in it. And I don't like a lot of creamer and sugar in my coffee. I like my coffee like a little bit brown. I like it to still be able to taste the coffee. Okay. Like I don't like it black, but I like to still be able to taste the coffee. Okay. And so I ordered an iced coffee because I ain't had fucking coffee yet. And they hand me a drink in a cup with a straw that is white. It was literally white.
Yes.
It was not tan, it was not brown, it was white.
Yeah.
Okay? So I mean, come on, you got to know that there's no fucking coffee in that if it's white. And like I hadn't had my coffee yet, so the Karen in me was coming out and I'm like, I need to tell them that like they didn't put any coffee in this.
And
Like
I was trying to warn her, but she was, like she said, she was in her Karen mode. So
I was adamant, like, hey, just so you know,
yeah,
there's no coffee in this. Like it's
but
white.
she wanted me to go up there, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna tell you, it's not gonna go out over well
Yeah.
because they're gonna give you shit and probably just hand you the same cup back.
Yeah. And I went up there anyway and like politely said, hey, just wanted to let you guys know there's no coffee in this. Like it's white.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they gave me attitude, made me another cup of the same exact fucking thing.
Yeah. And there was another lady back there just grumbling away. Oh, there's fucking coffee in there. I made the goddamn thing, blah, blah, blah. And
there was definitely not any coffee in that. It was white.
I was like, yep, I figured this was going to happen. So we left Burger King while we were waiting to get the window fixed, which they did. Safe Light, let me tell you, their shit ain't a joke. It was on point. They even tinted it properly for us, too.
Yes. And they were quick.
Yeah, they
Less
were really
than 2
quick.
hours. Yeah.
And so
Then we
anyway,
went to the gas station down the street and got coffee, and it was a fucking protein shake.
yeah, she got a pre-bottled latte iced coffee thing.
Because I was like, oh my God, latte. It'll have espresso in it. I need it.
Yeah.
And it was a fucking protein shake.
even like she handed it to me. She's like, this is got to be like a protein shake. And it's in the bottle, the same type of bottle as Muscle Milk comes in. And I was like, it looks like a protein shake. And I tasted it and I was like, nope, it's just as nasty, chalky as protein shakes are. So that was it.
So much for coffee.
Yeah. But so we drove back and
we went to Walmart, didn't we?
Yeah, we stopped at Walmart. Hey,
and
listen,
we found a good deal on some liquor.
Listen, for one, okay, we live in upstate New York, as we've established.
Liquor is not in the grocery store in upstate
Liquor
New
is
York.
not in a Walmart.
Only wine and beer in the stores. You have to go to a liquor store for liquor.
And it's expensive.
Yes.
Like, even the cheapest stuff is pretty damn expensive.
Yes.
We found some on top fucking shelf kind of stuff.
He got a Crown. Cheap. He got a bottle of Crown Vanilla, the big one.
The big one.
For $25.
Yeah, in the box.
I got a bottle of Bailey's, the big bottle, for $25.
2 of them.
Yeah, 2. I got 2 because I had to try the 2 different flavors.
She got chocolate and she got espresso.
Oh my God, they're so good.
And oh yeah, she had a weed incident.
When we were at the presentation, I dropped my vape and it busted, and then I couldn't find any real weed, and I didn't find any real weed, but no. I went to this dispensary and they had some weed vapes in the back hidden, and they sold me some,
which was kind of funny because the guy didn't speak English at all.
Yeah, it was quite the just language barrier, but we got there.
Yeah. And so from there, that's when we drove back. And let me tell you, parking is fucking hideous.
By the way, it's like $60 every time you park.
Yeah, we calculated it up for 4 nights, 5 days. We spent over $300 for parking. Just parking.
Yes.
And it was crazy. And the first day was the cheapest because it was in a little supposedly secure place. God.
We ended up parking in that parking lot that we had talked about before for the rest of the trip, and we're fine.
Listen, I was paranoid about it at that point.
I was too. I was like so paranoid. Like, why the fuck will we get it fixed the next day?
I didn't have a choice. The insurance set that up. Yeah. But I parked basically right on top of where you pay, so that there was cameras, there was lights, there was everything right there. There's even a flashing red and blue light, which tends to bug people. So I was like, yeah, it's going right here against it. Anyway, so we drove back to the French Quarter.
And we went to the Voodoo Museum.
Went to the Voodoo Museum, which was a lot smaller than we expected. Yes. Because we were both really confused. We were like, is this it?
Yeah. But it was really cool.
It was really
cool. You guys will like the photos.
Yeah.
super fucking cool place. It was a lot of reading though.
Yeah, tons of reading.
They did have a guided tours, but it was like double the price.
Mm-hmm.
So going self-guided like is
It
what it
was what it was.
is. Yeah.
And see,
I'm sure we would have learned more if we had gone the
yeah,
guided route.
but see, like Cassie and I had this discussion afterwards. I was like, see, I'm weird about going to museums because if they allow photography, which we went to a couple that did not, I will take pictures of everything. Then I'll read it. So
Yeah.
I can be in and out in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then I'll read everything, which, by the way, Museum of Death does not allow photography, which is understandable seeing some of the shit that was there. So it was like, oh, yeah, no, I get it now.
Yeah.
But,
So we did spend a good chunk of time there trying to read.
yeah. And then, let's see, after the Voodoo Museum, we went and got some food, which, hey, another suggestion. If you're interested in or like New York style pizza by the
Fat
slice,
Boys Pizza.
Fat Boys is going to blow your mind.
What the fuck else was that other place? It was like a chicken spot.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Cajun pizza.
Cajun pizza.
Let me
Oh
find
my
it.
God.
Let me find it in the photos because I took pictures.
I got to, oh my God. I got to explain to Cassie what I've been complaining, well, not complaining, but like being adamant about this entire time. Cajun does not mean spicy. Not always. Everybody's like, oh, it just means it's spicy. You got to get used to eating spice. No, you can cook the spice out of food and still have wonderful flavor. The Cajun pizza that we got
was bomb.
It was fantastic. And I thought looking at it, I was like, well, it doesn't look like it's going to be spicy, but it's, kind of generic Cajun. So I was like, I don't know. Took a bite and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's real Cajun.
But Fat Boys Pizza, one slice. You only need
absolutely.
one slice.
That's all you
absolutely.
need. Because, oh my God, it was huge.
We got 3 slices, like one each and one to share, and we could not finish the 3rd slice.
Oh my God, we could barely get it started. It was horrible. I mean, it wasn't, the food was great. It was just we had ate too much at that point. It was crazy.
It's called Willie's.
Willie's, that's it. Yeah, which is weird. It's a chicken joint. It's not a pizza joint.
Willie's pizza joint.
Oh.
But it is they also have a chicken joint.
Oh, that's right, because it was next door.
And it's decorated with cocks.
Yeah, because it's, Willie's.
They have this big, like, cup you get. They sell, like, the frozen daiquiris. You get this big cup, and it's a rooster. It says Willie's Cocktail, New Orleans Stiffest Drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cute. I didn't get one because they were expensive.
No.
But I did get a daiquiri, though it's one of the drinks that got me sick at the La Louis house.
So we stopped just at a random place that had frozen daiquiris, and she was like, oh, I want one of those really bad. And I was like,
because they had a White Russian frozen daiquiri, and I love White Russians.
And so I was like, okay. So I went up and ordered like a small, thinking a small. No, their small was like a freaking big gulp 44 ouncer. Oh my God, it was huge.
Yes. They go big or go home. The drinks are not to be messed with in New Orleans.
That ain't no fun.
All of them are strong.
Yeah. And then, okay, so after that, we went on our tour the second night, which we had 2 tours back to back on the second night, I believe.
We had the family-friendly one.
Yeah, we had the Ghost of New Orleans, and then we had the Bad Bitches tour.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both fantastic. They were absolutely fantastic. And turns out the Bad Bitches tour, really cool information. Cassie definitely going to have to do a story on a couple of them. But the most interesting kind of pop out to me, Joan of Arc is just a random statue.
They have a giant statue of Joan of Arc in the middle of the highway in New Orleans.
Right in the middle of the highway.
Just a shout out to their French roots there.
Yeah, because she never lived in New Orleans. She never had anything to do with
She never
New
left
Orleans.
France.
Yeah, but she's there.
Well, actually that's not true. I think she died in England.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but she never came to U.S. How about that?
Joan of Arc would definitely be a story I'd have to do sometime. She's one of my faves. She is definitely a bad bitch.
Yeah, because we learned about Bricktop. We learned about
talking about her at some point. One of us will.
Yeah, it's fine. And oh God, I I just remember she was the Baroness of New Orleans, and I can't remember what her name is. But
But she was fucking cool.
she has like a kind of go fuck yourself to Andrew Jackson, and
Because
it is
Andrew Jackson said she wasn't a lady because she wore pants.
yeah,
She was a baroness of great wealth. She had this huge mansion and she owned what is now Jackson Park.
right. And so like the Jackson said that he would never tip his hat to a woman like her because she wore pants. So this statue that's right in the middle of Jackson Park
Jackson
is
Square.
Jackson Square, sorry, is literally him tipping his hat facing directly where she lived for basically the remainder of her life.
Yeah, and she lived. That's the funny thing about that is she lived well into like her 90s too, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah, she
don't
was
even
in
get
a
me started about Civil War relics that I don't believe should exist anymore, and how we don't agree about that.
right. After the Bad Bitches tour, we went.
But you will admit that Andrew Jackson was a terrible person,
Yeah, yeah.
and he probably shouldn't have any monuments.
I don't know about any monuments, but yes, he was a bad person. Because I mean, he was also really good at war standard. Let's see what was after.
We're talking about the Bad Bitches tour.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
So we went to the Voodoo Museum, which was really cool. Learned some more about like different voodoo deities. Um, One that I thought was really cool was Papa Legba because he is in the Coven episode, and he's depicted as being like pretty evil.
yeah.
Like he,
Wasn't he
the Coven season, not episode.
right of American Horror Story? Right,
Yes, Marie Laveau was sacrificing infants to him for her immortality.
right.
That was the story there. And also, like, he was who they would meet in the underworld when they would, like,
Yeah. Wasn't
visit
Papa
the underworld.
Legba also in Cloak and Dagger
I
that
don't
we
remember.
watched? Because we that was in well, that's based in New Orleans. But we did learn pretty extensively that I mean I said this too during the episode that all of well not all of but a vast majority of the negativity that is known about Marie Laveau it's it's whitewashed. It's stories made up to make voodoo way worse than it is because turns out voodoo is basically just Catholicism. With matter of fact, voodoo's older than Catholicism. So
Okay, so Papa Legba. So they kind of got it somewhat close, but like nothing about giving people immortality.
right.
He is a Iwa and Haitian voodoo Winti and Louisiana voodoo
Hmm.
who serves as the intermediary between God and humanity.
Right.
He stands at a spiritual crossroads and gives or denies permission to speak with the spirits of Guinea and is believed to speak all human language. In Haiti, he is the great elocutioner.
Okay.
He is, which is like the study of pronunciation and grammar.
Hmm.
Um,
So he was a linguist.
so he facilitates communication, speech, and understanding, and he is commonly associated with dogs. And he usually appears as an old man on a crutch or with a cane, wearing a broad brimmed straw hat and smoking a pipe or drinking a dark rum. And the dog is sacred to him.
Okay.
He is syncretized. So he is similar to St. Peter, St. Lazarus, and St. Anthony. And he is the favorite of children due to his jolly grandpa like image.
Nice.
He is often tasked with babysitting and distracting children, while more serious rituals are being performed by the adults.
I wonder
That's
if that's where giving the infants came across.
that's what I wanted to just fact check on Google really quick because like I was like, "Oh, I remember reading that he loved children and like he was basically kind of for some reason my mind I'm like automatically go to like the good version of a crossroads demon because they meet him on a crossroads."
Right.
So I didn't want to say that and be wrong.
Yeah, no, I got you. So after, let's see, after our tour, one more thing about the Marie Laveau house. Turns out, one, it used to be an Airbnb, and two, you can't purchase a Airbnb house in New Orleans anymore. They made it illegal to do Airbnb because they were literally buying up houses so that like the locals couldn't even own property in New Orleans anymore.
Yeah, so Marie Laveau's house was turned into apartments that you can rent by the month.
Yeah,
The locals did try to buy it, but they didn't have $1 million sitting around. That's how much the house sold for.
yeah, it was a lot.
It's kind of sad they didn't, that the state of Louisiana wouldn't want to turn it into a museum.
Yeah, because Christian was talking about it more than the others that they had the a lot of the tour guides in the area had attempted to gather enough money together to purchase the place and turn it into a Marie Laveau's museum and just couldn't come up with it. So after that tour though, we went back to the museum. I mean, back to the hotel for the night, and then the next morning. Let's see, that was day two. Day three. Oh, this is where day three is where we went to her Marie Laveau's gravesite,
Gravesite. Yes.
and oh my gosh, like in a way, it felt very disrespectful to be there. In another way, it was fascinating because we learned about like how they were buried, the myths and all that stuff about Marie's uh, tomb there, and I don't know. I didn't really like the tour. It was one of the less satisfying
Yeah.
tours there,
So
but
this is what I remember learning. I thought that the burial processing process was interesting because I find all things morbid interesting. Um anyway, because they bury their dead at sea level so that they can save the high ground for the living.
hmm
So they don't actually bury their dead. What they do is they have what looks like the tombs, like the big tomb, family tombs, like we have in normal cemeteries, but it's like the size of a casket.
yeah,
These tombs, okay. Some of them are huge because like they have some that are like for all of the Italians in all of New Orleans,
they also had like a really big one that was for basically if you
veterans.
couldn't. No, no, not that one. Basically, if you couldn't afford your own
If you
family
were
plot,
New Orleans musician,
that
they
one
had
too.
that one. Yeah.
But they just had one that was owned by the Catholic Church. That if you couldn't afford a family tomb plot, you could be
Oh,
entombed
I don't
there.
remember that. I remember him explicitly saying multiple times that if you couldn't afford it, that you had to go to the city.
It,
Other than the musician one and the veteran one.
yeah, the musician one was yeah,
If you
it's
couldn't afford to be buried, that musicians from New Orleans would all pitch in to have you buried in that tomb.
right. Yeah, there was that one off to the side, and then but the one with the big dude standing on top of it, which was specifically from the church, that was
I thought that was the Italian one.
there was more to the whole conversation there. Was that also if you're were from New Orleans but could not afford the plot, that's why they're not named. It's because so many people just get buried in there.
These tombs, most of them are like a family plot, but it's just one tomb the size of your typical casket. And like, but it also they're kind of high, so it looks like you could fit like four caskets on top of each other.
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about is the wall around it because they have people buried inside the wall. And I
No,
remember him
that was
saying,
the wall was basically a standby
"Yeah,
because
so
because you
let
can't
me
open
finish the
it.
story." So what they do is they put you in a casket and put you in the tomb and they leave you there for a year and a day. And after a year and a day, your body will naturally inside a casket in the weather that is in New Orleans, your body will naturally cremate itself. And all that will be left is bones. So then they like dump the bones out of the casket, take the casket out, and just shove you down into the center with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that's where the "I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole" comes from. They just shove you down into the middle of that with the rest of your family's bones, call it a day. And then the wall, so there's walls surrounding all of the cemeteries, and they're 10 foot deep. And the wall is for like, if they, because they only put one casket in the tomb at a time. So if you have another family member die before the year and a day, they put you in the wall.
It's not that it's not that they put them in there one at a time. The law is that once it's sealed, you can't open it
For a
for
year and a day. Yeah.
for any reason because it's a natural cremation. So basically, if somebody died within that year and 1 day,
In
they had
that
to be on that
family.
standby plot on the wall, and then they could scoop you out and just toss you in the
The
tomb.
bone pile with
Yeah,
everybody else. Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess it is definitely more eco friendly. I don't know about the tombs left there to rot.
yeah.
The other thing that I've thought was shitty, and we'll show some pictures of that, is that basically like if your family like moves out of New Orleans and like generations down the line, like so once everybody in the family dies, or I don't know how to explain this, you inherit your plot.
Mm-hmm.
That you inherit your plot from your family just naturally. Each descendant inherits that plot. So if your family, like a branch of the family, moved out of New Orleans years and years and years ago, and then the branch that stayed in New Orleans all died off, then the people who left New Orleans have no idea that they own this plot. And then if you don't pay to keep your plot maintained, the Catholic Church just lets it rot.
Yep.
So there's a ton of plots that are literally growing vegetation off of them and just crumbling
Yeah.
from the floods and different things because the Catholic Church does not maintain them if you don't pay to have them maintained, which
Right.
is the same thing that happens to tombstones.
Yeah.
In fact, my parents paid for several of our ancestors' tombstones to be replaced, specifically two babies
Mm-hmm.
that died in the family, and the tombstones continuously got knocked over from people mowing the grass.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually do have an interesting picture. Aside from Marie's tomb, I have one that's literally the oldest plot there and the newest plot there are
Or side
side
by
by
side,
side.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, which the newest plot doesn't go along with anything in there whatsoever.
And then they also have some that are literally just the shape of one casket.
Hmm.
And that's for people who don't want to purchase a family plot and just pay for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was interesting. Um,
And we were told that the the rumors about Marie's tomb, where like
and
you could
about her being evil too, were kind of all associated to the old groundskeeper who is also buried there.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
but we were told that like it was just a rumor. It wasn't there wasn't any beliefs or anything behind it. The problem was that the locals that cherished Marie Laveau so much would follow through on these
Offerings.
offerings and stuff like that. Now you
Have
can't,
to pay to go
yeah,
in
you
there.
can't even like go pay your respects to her anymore.
You have to pay to go in there on a guided tour.
Yeah, and
You
you
can't
can't.
leave offerings. Her tomb is blank,
Yeah,
other than a few placards. Yeah.
and when we brought it up during a different tour to ask like what exactly happened because he didn't go into it too much, the tour guide for the cemetery.
He said that somebody went in there and painted it pink.
Right, and I mean he said that, and he was like it was a complete disrespect. It was kids being kids, blah blah blah, and just kind of left it at that. And I was like, okay, but I was trying to get some more information. He was just ignoring all of it. Like he felt like he didn't have the time of day for paying any respect to
Yeah.
her. And but when we asked JJ, she's like, no, actually, it was painted that weird hot pinkish because it was a super respect to Marie. Like the people that had went in there and painted it like that were paying true homage to Marie's respects.
Yeah. And I think they also might have been trying to cover up the
The X's.
markings
Yeah,
on it, because there was like this rumor that the old groundskeeper had started, on top of like starting rumors about her like hexing people and different things like that.
yeah.
That if you marked her grave with three X's
You
and made a
knocked
wish
you
and
knocked three
knocked, yeah,
times, and then you first. I don't know how
you spin
factual
around or
I
some
don't know how
shit.
factual that part was, but he's like, and he like turned around so many times, and but it felt like he was kind of blowing off everything, and I'm like, listen, like we're most of us are here to actually learn about Marie, so can we
Yeah.
talk about this?
I mean, the cemetery was really cool looking, but it felt like kind of shitty that like we had to pay. We paid to go there and look at it, and like it makes you like wonder: do like the people who have plots there have to pay to go
Yeah,
visit their family?
yeah, it
Um,
did
and
feel
like the
pretty
Catholic
disrespectful.
Church kind of like just put a whole kibosh on leaving offerings for her and stuff like that because they don't want to have to clean it up,
Yeah,
which I think is
but
disrespectful to the voodoo belief, because like it's not like people leave offerings at an altar and then clean them up. They leave them there.
yeah,
They're for Marie Laveau.
right. And to be fair, one thing that truly did kind of like debunk the evil side of Marie Laveau's story is that she's buried on Catholic ground. She was truly Catholic.
Yes, she was baptized Catholic. She's
Yeah,
buried on consecrated ground.
yeah. So she couldn't be if she wasn't part of the Catholic Church, which means that she truly did meld the perfect line between voodoo and Christianity or Catholicism. So,
Yeah,
but let's see. And then after the cemetery tour, what
we
else?
went to the Museum of Death,
Yeah, we went to the Museum of Death.
which was really cool. And I know there's one in California, and it's huge
Yeah.
because my best friend Amanda is telling me about it. Um, a lot of reading at
Hmm.
the Museum of Death. No pictures were allowed. They did have like a video thing, but we didn't sit down and watch it.
No, we
Um,
didn't feel like we wanted to sit there for too long.
yeah. Um, Kind of bad vibes though. A lot of bad energy in that place, cuz like it's like basically it was originally a museum dedicated to original artworks by serial killers.
Right.
And they have a lot of original artworks by serial killers.
Yeah.
Like they've got John Wayne Gacy's a couple of his paintings. They've got quite a few letters from David Berkowitz and like the Maury letters. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I don't know if they're original copies, but they do have those letters.
Yeah.
They have the letters to the police. Um, they've got letters from quite a few killers. They actually have Eileen Warnos's underwear and bra,
Yeah.
the last pair she wore.
And
Um,
Christian was actually,
he works there too.
yeah. I mean, he works there too, but he went full tour guide on that situation too because she brought up the son of Sam.
And how he didn't act alone.
Yeah, the theory that he was part of a cult, and he goes, "Oh no, it's not a theory. Like I wish we could highlight on the letter because he writes it on there." And I was like, "Cool, there you go."
Yeah, it's not a theory. It's factual.
Yeah,
It's factual. It's just not written down in history that way.
right,
Like a lot of things.
right.
The one thing that was I found upsetting, and I did say something to Christian, and I mean he's like, "What do I do? It's my job," you know. And
Right.
I'm sure that he thinks that things are cool, and I really saw no point in like taking it any further. But from my standpoint, they had autopsy photos of all of the Manson murders.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that should be something that is accessible to the public, because it's
Well,
nude photos of people at their worst when they're dead, covered in stab punctures. And seeing Sharon Tate's dead, pregnant body is something that I could have lived without.
right. Well, I mean, upon entry, okay, it's not openly accessible for one. You do have to pay to get in, and they do stop children at the door.
Right. I know that. I know that.
And
I just find it very disrespectful
I
to the dead.
understand,
Yeah.
but like the whole
I mean, I'm pretty
I
sure
mean,
her husband and his family like are still around and stuff.
I'm
It's
not
just,
disagreeing. I'm just trying to view the point of on the business side of
and
it.
I'm sure there's people that want to see that.
Yeah,
But I mean, from on my standpoint, I could have gone the rest of my life without seeing Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, any of them dead
right.
on the autopsy table. As a mom, Sharon Tate's story really breaks my heart, and what Charles Manson did is disgusting. So,
I'm
and
not disagreeing with you.
I like me and him also kind of had a debate about Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, so on one standpoint, I do agree that it's kind of a sad story. Like, Jeffrey was not set up for success, but he should have gotten mental health help. He should have been allowed to be gay. His dad should have got some help. His dad should have not taught him how to taxidermy roadkill or run experiments on them, any of
Yeah,
that shit. But at the same notion, there's plenty of people in this world who had shitty childhoods and shitty parents that don't cut up and eat people.
right.
So
I mean, y'all talked about that with Eileen Warhouse,
Warnos, I
Warnos
think
too.
that I'm more in agreement with Eileen Warnos that she's more of a victim than a killer. I'm sure that the families of her victims would not agree with me, but I feel like her life failed her.
Yeah,
She was a victim. Yeah,
right,
I don't believe in the death penalty in the first place. So that's where I'm at with that.
right.
She probably could have redeemed her life, even if she spent the rest of it in prison. But I did like try to like mention to Christian, and I'm sure he has his opinions, and I like to talk about mine. You know, he talked about Jeffrey Dahmer and all that stuff, and I was like, you know, I'm honestly surprised that they made the documentary on Netflix because the family members of his victims have made a point to sue anyone who has profited off of his name.
Right.
Anyone. They do not want his likeness, his name to be out there making money for anyone. His father wrote a book. The families of his victims got all the proceeds of that book because they
Hmm.
sued him, as they should.
Yeah.
It's really shitty. He did some terrible things. And yeah, that's my opinion on it. I say that while saying that Jeffrey Dahmer is I want to say this without being disrespectful. He's my favorite serial killer. Okay. I say that not as like I idolize him because I do not idolize any serial killers.
Hmm.
I do not. I think they're terrible human beings. I just find him the most fascinating
Right.
because the depravity of the things that he did is very interesting. And granted, a lot of it had to do with alcoholism and repressed homosexuality or being gay. I'm not sure if homosexuality is a slur or not.
Is a technical term.
Yeah, you know. So, yeah, that was my takeaway for the Museum of Death. I thought it was cool. It was really cool to see. They have Dr. Kevorkian's original patented assisted suicide machine, which is very cool. I am in support of assisted suicide in most cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to the terminally ill or the invalid that don't want to continue on,
Hmm.
full support of that because I also do not want to continue on if I am invalid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said that they had pictures of the Black Dahlia, like autopsy photos, but
I
did
didn't
we find
see it.
it?
I didn't see it.
Maybe it was on that video.
Maybe.
Maybe that's how we missed it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it wasn't something I couldn't live without seeing.
And in the theater area, there was newspapers of true historic events. Like they were actual newspapers that had been framed from the day of the headline. Because like
That's JFK ones.
they had
Yeah.
JFK, they had Stalin, they had Hitler, they had all kinds of stuff. It was crazy to see. And they had a very small like 9/11 section, and even Christian was like, I really kind of wish this one would go away of all of them. And I was like, no, I feel that. It's too modern, if I guess that's the word, because like you can connect to it
Yeah.
if you talk about it now,
Yeah.
you can still connect to it. Whereas like, okay, uh, Dahmer and stuff like that is pre our age group,
Yeah.
so there's like a disconnect. That's why it's easier to discuss, and that doesn't mean anything for like the older generation that is listening to this. We mean no disrespect by discussing
Yeah.
anything that you might have a connection to. It's just it's easier for us in our 30s to not I don't know, not draw
You
the
say that, but they
lines.
also had like what the fuck were those brothers? The Menendez brothers. That was when we were kids, right around 9/11 time.
I had no connection to like
Oh, there's a patricide case.
I understand, but like I know now because of watching stuff with you and other people uh, about them, but like prior to that that wasn't news, and where I grew up it wasn't headline news like a lot of things were.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's easier to disconnect
Yeah.
from.
They had some of Charles Manson's clothes, which was kind of cool.
Hmm.
He's I just bashed him unapologetically, but he is also one of my favorites just because it is very fascinating. The extent is when I say that they are one of my favorite killers, I don't like the person. I am fascinated by the psychology and just the story itself.
Yeah.
Charles Manson is a very interesting person in regards to how he manipulated people to ruin their lives.
Hmm.
And also how he was convicted of being a serial killer, having not killed a single person.
Right.
Allegedly. There's no proof that he killed anybody.
Yeah.
His cult members admitted to the murders.
Right.
And I've read a lot about him just because that's like my parents' time,
Hmm.
and they talked about him. Yeah. I kind of want that's one reason why I want to go to California is because I want to visit the campgrounds where they lived. What the fuck was that place called?
I
I
don't
can't
think you
remember.
can.
I think you can actually.
Okay.
There no, it's like national parks. Like you can go to there's this photo of like the family because that's what they were called. They're called the family. There's like this cave. Well, it's like a mountain. It's just a giant rock that's a mountain.
Hmm.
And it's like a carved out section in there like but it's not like a full blown cave. It's just enough for you to like stand in and they're all kind of standing together in
Yeah.
there and there's a picture of all of them and you can go there like it's a part of a national park.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know
I
if you can go to Spawn Ranch, but worth looking into.
I wouldn't want to go
You
to
wouldn't want to go
stuff.
to Spawn Ranch?
No,
I'm sure it's
with
haunted.
doesn't matter. The amount of shit that went on there, like true connectivity
Evil.
to yeah, basically
I
just
mean,
pure
yeah, I
evil like
got
that. No.
fucking sick as hell at the Lalaurie house. Maybe I should stay the fuck away from Spawn Ranch.
Yeah.
We both got sick at the rock quarry.
Yeah. 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 We discussed that with basically every one of the tour guides, the our experience and stuff, and they were fascinated. It was weird. They were openly fascinated with our own personal experiences with stuff, and they do have like on their websites that if you have personal experiences you want to share, just send in an email to this, that, and the other, and it's really cool. Let's see, what did we do after the Museum of Death?
We
We
went to the pharmacy museum,
oh yeah, that's where we went to the Pharmacy Museum.
which we already talked about pretty
Hmm.
extensively.
Yeah.
Oh, and we got our tarot cards read
Yep. Yep.
that day.
Which, okay, so here's the thing. Like, I'm pretty firm in the thought process that if something is going to truly work for you, you have to at least believe in it. And I may seem like very on the other side in my thought processes, like, thinking ritualistic stuff works. Tarot cards, I don't. Palm reading, I don't. I don't think those work. I really don't. And that's why when we sat down, I was like, no, this is Cassie's thing. Let her do it and be done.
But then she was so fucking dead on, other than the pregnancy thing.
Well, it wasn't even pregnancy. It was like, it was basically if you don't want to be pregnant,
Make sure
make
you're
sure you're,
taking care of that.
taking care of that.
Yeah.
And
Which
we
I was like, I don't know why that card would come up for me because like I'm covered, supposed to be.
supposed to be,
I have an IUD. I should
yeah,
be covered. Please don't
but
get me pregnant.
no doubt, no more kids. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Plus, I think a pregnancy with like an IUD inserted is like extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look. I have to look into it. I
But
don't know if that like can make an ectopic pregnancy, that which is like life threatening. I gotta look into that shit.
But the problem with, to me, the problem with tarot is kind of the same thing with fortune tellers or the people that were speaking to the dead for you in the 20s and 30s and 40s.
Yeah, all that stuff is so easy to feign. Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
I've
psychics on the telephone that kind of like ask questions. They like get
right,
the
which
so
is
yeah, and she
which
did
is
that
she
too.
started that way. She started with asking asking questions about Cassie's life and this, that, and the other, and then because our storyline was overlapping for majority of what her cards were, all she had to do was ask me two things, which is what do I do for a living, and what was the other thing that she had to ask? I don't remember,
I don't
but
remember, but I do remember for both of us, we got the poverty card.
which the gal said that everyone's been getting the poverty card, which she's pretty sure has a connection to the fact that we're not in a recession anymore, people. We are in a depression,
Yeah.
worse than the Great Depression. There are numbers and statistics to prove that.
Basically, she was saying that we would be okay because of the way the card was,
Yeah,
as
because
long as we spent our money wisely.
like so there's in tarot cards there's like a position in the line, and then what number of card it falls tells you where it's at in your storyline or
It
your
also
lifeline.
depends on how you're reading. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And also if it's upward, like facing up or facing down, not that's not right. Upside down, I guess. Like if you're looking at the card, the picture would be right side up or upside down. And that would also have a factor. Well, the card that fell next was basically for both of us. We got the poverty card, meaning, hey, we're going through rough times, but if we keep on track, we'll be fine. And then the next card was like compromised fortune, which was where like basically the way she explained it was that like you're going to be good in your future, like you'll recover perfectly fine. You just have to keep yourself on track, which is kind of what she said repeatedly. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
but the only reason I got mine done was because I was, like Cassie said, hers was pretty damn on point, like the way she read the cards out to us. And I was like, all right, I might as well try, see what happens.
Yeah.
And the only the only thing to me which Cassie felt like was no, it was directly pointed at me, and I'm like, no, I feel like she was definitely saying some shit about you instead of me. And but I mean, either way, it could probably fall for both of us because we're pretty similar in in all aspects. So I don't know. It was a fun experience either way, and
Yeah.
I do suggest whether you believe it or not, do try it. I mean,
Hell yeah.
me
I
going
was more
in.
interested in getting my palm read because I do tarot myself, so I kind of already
Mhm.
have an idea of how that works and everything. And like, we couldn't find any palm readers really.
I mean, that gal was a palm reader, but she didn't give us that choice.
Yeah, she just started reading our cards. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do highly suggest it as someone coming in very skeptical of it and just understanding if you don't believe it, it's not going to work. That it was cool. It was interesting. You should try it sometime.
Yeah.
And then after that, though, we walked around for a little while until our tour started, which was, oh, no, no, that's when we went to the bars, the
Hmm.
different bars, because we were going to the pub crawl later. So
So we went to the vampire speakeasy.
yeah, which how we got our invite, okay? I think Cassie touched on it a little bit
You
earlier.
have to go to the vampire cafe or the vampire boutique,
Right.
and they
And
will give it to anyone who asks about the vampire
yeah,
speakeasy. It's not like an exclusive thing.
no, which kind of sounded exclusive the first night that we went on the tour because we're like, oh, damn, this is like, you got to get invited. And then I heard him say verbatim what he said the first time, and I'm like, oh, it's a gimmick. Okay. It is what it is. But
Hmm.
it was still fascinating to go in there. And we met the coolest Australian couple.
And we played a game that we had no idea how to play, and we played it wrong, but we had fun.
Yeah, yeah, they made up their own rules to this game.
It was like a dice. It was like a weird wooden box with numbers on each
Right,
side, on all four sides.
it's like a close the box kind of game. I think it's got a
Yeah, I think
weird
that's what it
name.
was called. Close the box.
Yeah,
You googled it.
it's got a weird name, but essentially it's you close the box by rolling die and getting certain numbers, and they fall a certain way, which is kind of what we were doing.
Except we only had 2 die.
We only had 2 die, and they made up their own rules of like, okay, you roll the die. If you get, 6 through 10, you can do that. If you want to knock off 2 numbers, you can do, 1 through 6, whatever falls.
Yeah.
And then,
So if you get like a 5 and a 4, you can do 9, or you can do 5 and 4.
yeah, but you couldn't do both.
Yes.
So it was fun, and like it was laughable because all of us were like, dang, we're down to like literally 1 or 2 numbers and can't get them.
Yeah. We had a good time, and they were nice. And then we bumped, and then they left
they left earlier than us from there.
They left the speakeasy, and a few minutes later, we were like, okay,
Yeah.
we checked it out. Now what?
Yeah. So we headed down to the dungeon.
And they were at the dungeon when we got there.
Yeah. And so the dungeon, okay, it's not really an exclusive kind of place, but I will say this.
It's really cool how you get in there.
Yeah. So it's literally an alleyway. Between 2 buildings, there is a door, like an old-timey
Gate
pirate
type door.
Yeah, pirates type, locked away kind of door. You walk down this little alleyway, you cross a bridge, and then you're in this little open, you keep
like
saying
mini courtyard.
Yeah, it's like a courtyard. It's very tiny. It's got room for 1 bench, 1 coffin, 1 door. So there's that. But you walk inside, and it's literally just a sit at the bar situation, and you have to squeeze yourself to get past anybody sitting at the bar.
Yeah, literally, it's just the bar.
Yeah.
But if you go all the way to the back,
they had a little tiny dance area with a jukebox, but there's also accessibility to upstairs. And Cassie will tell you about upstairs because I didn't catch all that.
Upstairs was really cool. It was actually a lot bigger. It was mostly dance floor with a smaller bar area. And they had like the Grey's Anatomy wooden cross that you could be tied up to, which leads me to believe that it is like a BDSM bar at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a regular bar for the tourists once they open, but once it starts to get popping and getting late into the night, I think they actually do some like BDSM role plays upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely with the I'm guessing the owner or maybe the like high manager of the place.
I'm guessing owner, probably.
Yeah, I was guessing owner. Was telling us about the renovations because we went at like 4:00.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. So it was before everything really started opening.
Yeah,
good.
the downstairs bar was open, but the upstairs wasn't open. But we saw people come down the upstairs, so we were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna go up there."
Yeah, and he gave us a very small guided tour of their renovations and stuff like that to the place, and it was really fascinating. But then he turned off the lights, and I was like, "That's where I got this is Red Room vibes."
Yes,
100% Red Room vibes.
Yes, the girl that was upstairs was like in all leather.
Yeah, she was in like that. I forget. Like, think Charlie's Angels red leather dress, and it was crazy. She didn't squeak though. I'll give her that. It didn't squeak when she moved. But yeah, and I don't know. The whole situation was just fascinating. But now, I have to say, getting the invite to the vampire thing. Okay, forgot to say this.
It's a $20 cover after 7 p.m.
Well, yeah, but no, I thought I was being sneaky, and it was kind of funny because at the Vampire Boutique, I heard the couple in front of us like discussing it, trying to figure out how to get the invite, and I walked up and I was like, "Hey, so I heard there's an opportunity available," and he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Well, there's some really interesting, bloody drinks around here somewhere." And he goes, "Yeah, there might be if you know the right people." And I was like, "Would you be one of those people that I might need to know to get there?" And he goes, "Just maybe." And he slides me the card. And I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." It was
and then
nerdy as hell.
When we found, because the vampire speakeasy is actually hidden, the invite has clues to find it.
Yeah.
So there's like not a sign. It's an actual hidden speakeasy. Mm-hmm. There's clues to find it. When we found it, there was a vampire at the door waiting for us, and he took our invite, and he was so like cliche, like, old
Oh
timey
yeah, if you've
vampire
seen Interview
with
with the
and he had his
Vampire,
fangs on and
yeah,
everything, and he opened the door for us and was like, "Go on in," and like bowed. It was fucking cute.
yeah, it was cool. It was an experience to say
Yeah,
the
yeah,
least.
hell yeah. We enjoyed it, and we were like determined when we were done with the pub crawl that we were going to go back to the dungeon and see if they had some BDSM scenes going on upstairs and dance the night
Yeah,
away.
but the problem is we went
So
to
we went on the
prepare.
pub crawl.
Yeah, well, okay, the reason why we didn't go back, I have to explain this. We went to prepare for drinking, which anybody knows you got to get food on your stomach if you're going to go heavy drinking.
Yeah, so we left the speakeasy, went to the dungeon, and then got food.
Yeah, we went to
Fat
Fat
Boy's
Boy's
Pizza and
Pizza
got lunch,
and
or
got,
like dinner lunch.
yeah, late lunch, early dinner, and instantly we were like, "Oh, this was a bad idea because
And
we're
so then,
tired."
yeah, then we went on the pub crawl, and we had a really good time on
Hmm.
the pub crawl.
Learned wonderful things from JJ. She is like, Christian is the experience, JJ is the knowledge. I have
Yeah,
to, I mean, don't get me wrong, Christian is very knowledgeable. Like, to hear him talk outside of the tour guidey situation, 100%. The guy knows his stuff. But JJ being a historian, she like got rid of the tour guidey stuff and like spat facts at us like it was cool. And both of us love the quirky shit and the knowledge behind it.
hell
So it was
yeah.
great. And then Cassie got to experience her first absinthe, with
Absinthe.
absinthe, which it's really hard to say that
It's
for
not
me.
real absinthe, so it
No, it
doesn't
wasn't real.
count.
They got rid of the wormwood, so it's
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 not legal.
legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the legal
So
version.
it's basically like Jaeger.
Yeah, it's basically Jaeger,
Yeah.
but
I
they
did
had
try
it.
it.
Yeah, but they had it in a mixed, in a like a cocktail situation.
Yeah, and you couldn't even taste it, which I probably honestly, after she described it, like I hate black licorice,
Hmm.
but I can down Jaeger like as long as it's cold.
Yeah,
I can take straight shots at Jaeger, no problem. So I probably could have drank like one that actually tasted like absinthe and not had an issue with it.
probably.
Um,
I don't know. And
but the one that I got was like masked the black licorice flavor.
yeah, because I was driving, I didn't do the whole pub crawl. I got two drinks and I had plenty of food, so I was safe. I made sure I was safe to drive. But Cassie got all the signature cocktails that was suggested.
Yeah, we went to this pirate bar, which was really cool. It's like the oldest bar in America.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kind of sad. Like I would like to learn more about the Louisiana pirates, but according to JJ, the there's no record of like pirates actually being in what is called Pirate Alley.
Right.
And what they're calling Pirate Alley is an alleyway
That fits
between the
perfect.
the Catholic church, and what was the jail at
Yeah.
that time.
So it'd be
So
like a
she's like,
dumb place to have it in the first
yeah,
place.
to have pirates going through stealing or selling stolen goods between the church and the
But
prison doesn't, she's like, I don't believe it. But also, she went in length about how, like, the most famous pirate from New Orleans was a slave trader.
yeah,
And almost all of them in New Orleans were slave traders because
right.
that's where the money was in New Orleans.
Yeah. And one of the well-known pirates, not only was he a slave trader, he was the oh god, what is the
He
term?
worked for, he worked
He worked both
for,
sides of it. So he
so he was
was,
like, he worked for the government
yeah. I forget what the
as a
word
pirate.
is. Yeah,
I can't remember either.
I don't. I
We're
can't
gonna
remember
Google it.
that
You're gonna put it
term.
up on the screen.
Yeah,
It'll
I'll
be
figure
fine.
it out and I'll put it up there on the YouTube video. But anyway, the other aspect of why she thought that there may have been a possibility of there being pirates through there, but not doing the traits like everybody suggests, is because at the end of the alley is the French Quarter, or the French marketplace,
Yeah,
which is used to be where you come right off the ships and boom, right there.
marketplace. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's still a marketplace to this day.
it is still in our marketplace today, but there's a railroad track so dividing the waterfront from the market. So,
Yeah, it's still a really cool place though.
yeah,
I walked through it before we left town.
yeah. I had to sit in the truck because there was nowhere to park, so I had to keep moving the truck.
which sucks. But like,
Yeah.
I would the one thing like we weren't in a hurry necessary to leave because
Mm-mm.
we knew that we could kind of take our time coming back. But at the same time, we wanted to get our kids at a decent like we didn't want it to be an extra 3 days before we got our kids
Right.
from people because like people were watching our kids for free. Our kids missed us.
Yeah.
So like we
And we
didn't
did we
yeah.
did communicate with the kids every night. Okay,
Yes,
just to be
almost pretty
clear.
much every night, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we missed like one because we were tired or something.
No, it's because we had that was the back to back tours that night. We didn't get an opportunity to say goodnight to either one of the kids,
Yeah.
but we talked to them first thing the next morning. So
Yeah. Like we talked to them at least once every day while we were gone.
yeah, and it was. I mean, it was great. We got a few cute things, videos from Eli because we video called with Eli more often than we would video call with Annie, and I think that was because she was getting ready for school. So
Yeah.
it would have been distracting.
Yeah. Anyway, so what was kind of shitty was just my bad mental health experience leaving the city. Um, so I wanted to do two things before we left. Everybody talked up the beignets,
Hmm.
so we had to try the beignets from Cafe Du Monde.
And I will tell you something about that here in a minute.
And then I personally love gumbo. I had a really good friend when I was in high school in Florida who her and her brother were from Louisiana and her brother was going to culinary school and a really good chef. He's still a really good chef and he would make gumbo and it was fucking phenomenal. And then when I moved to Baltimore, um and I worked at the bar I worked at, I mean, it wasn't like I thought it was good gumbo. He the chef that I worked under, I mean, it was a bar, so not necessarily a chef, but the person that I worked with in the kitchen, he would make gumbo during like the fall season
Hmm.
because seafood is popular in Maryland. So,
Yeah.
and gumbo is I mean, you can get seafood gumbo, but it's primarily like there's requirements that call it make it to be called a gumbo, and
Right.
one of those is at least one seafood.
Right.
I believe it's like peppers, onions, okra, and then you have to have like your land, air, and sea
Yeah.
in there. And that's what makes it gumbo. The
Right.
rest is kind of open interpretation from what I remember from when I went to culinary school, that is.
Yeah.
Um, could be wrong because I went to culinary school in DC, so Louisianans don't come after me. um, but anyway, I wanted actual Louisiana gumbo from like good gumbo, and I wanted the beignets.
Hmm.
And we couldn't find parking, so Stewart parked in like a no parking area.
It wasn't no parking. It said no standing,
No
which
stopping
no
is what it
stopping,
said.
which is what we
Like
were doing.
open to interpretation, I
Yeah,
guess.
but I mean, everyone literally the whole area that had all these signs, everyone was parked there, and I found one spot and I slid in it, and I was like, "You stay with the truck in case."
Yeah, and then he left his phone in the truck, which
Yeah.
caused me to go into like panic mode because, like, what if I had to move the truck? How would we have found each other? Like, I was just kind of freaking out.
Right.
And then the freaking Buddhist people were like, not anything against Buddhist people, but they kind of have a scam down in New Orleans, which we'll talk about after that. They
We already
kept
talked
coming up
about
to
it.
oh, we did, okay. So the Buddhist monks kept coming up to the truck while you were gone, which is like nothing against them. It was just making it worse because I was having anxiety,
Right.
like going into a panic attack, and it was making it worse. Not like, oh my god, I'm afraid of black people or anything like that. Like, no, I was just like, not that they were black. I'm just saying, like, the typical white person locks the doors when a black
You're
person
starting
walked by.
to you're starting to dig a hole here, dear.
Yeah, but that typical like white person who locks the door when black people walk by the car. Like, I
Yes.
wasn't saying that. Like, I was having anxiety, and people talking to me that I didn't know was making it worse.
Right.
So
And the situation was not the greatest. We'll
yeah.
we'll just
So
say
he
that.
went and got gumbo and it was good. It was just like it had been cooked way much earlier in the morning and sat in like a crock pot or under a heat lamp. And so like the seafood was overcooked by that
Hmm.
point. Which it had a good flavor. It was a very good gumbo. So
Yeah.
nothing against them.
I
But
was in a rush trying to find it, and
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this is the one place that we did check the menu on," and I was like, "I'll grab it."
Yeah, and then we went to the French market and literally they had like all kinds of food. Like they had gumbo, they had fucking everything. Like
Yeah.
when but you couldn't even come inside.
No.
So I could have got breakfast from there and it probably would have been bomb.
Yeah.
Just as good.
And now the beignets though, okay. So the reason why we didn't drive off like immediately before getting gumbo, aside from her really wanting it, was because we were parked right at the place that was suggested to us.
Cafe Du Monde, the
Cafe Du
original
Monde.
like inventor of the beignet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it'd been hyped up and everything. There was huge line
And
for the
like
place.
literally all week I would see people with like little paper bags that said
Right.
Cafe Du Monde with like they're in so there it was popular,
Yeah.
obviously.
And then when I walked up there, the first thing I was told was it's a sit down only. And I'm like, well shit, okay, maybe we're at the wrong place or something. And went back, told Cassie, and she's like, no, like people
Are
are literally
walking by with bags.
yeah. So I had to go like snuff my way through there to figure out how to get it. But I got her some, and let me just tell you, it is overhyped
It's
because
literally just a funnel cake.
it's a very thick funnel cake
It's like
in a bag full of powdered sugar.
so it's pancake batter because that's what funnel cake is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pancake batter, but instead of in the fun shape that you would get at the fair, it's a cube
Yep.
covered in powdered sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I know I'd heard people saying that they were just donuts. But
Yeah,
like
somebody
obviously people were hyping it up so much. I'm like, this is gonna be the best fucking donut I ever had.
Yeah, and
Louisiana's New Orleans known for its good food.
yeah, and it was kind of a letdown on that one aspect
Yeah.
because we were like, oh, well.
I am kind of sad that we didn't get to go to Muriel's, the haunted restaurant, because it did
Yeah.
look like a nice place to eat.
Yeah, but at that point we were just tired of paying $100 every meal.
Yeah.
Because it was
Be
pretty damn
prepared
close.
to like drop thousands for a couple of days in New Orleans because it was
Yeah.
crazy. And I will say, like, I don't think we'll go there for Mardi Gras just
Yeah, I
because
know.
we're not. I mean, I am used to dealing with huge crowds because, like, my parents used to love to go to concerts and shit like that. I don't have an issue with big crowds per se. I have anxiety about being in a big crowd with my kids because I don't want to lose my kids. But I do have a hard time with like drunk and belligerent people.
Yeah,
Even
same.
though I myself am sometimes drunk and belligerent.
That's also why I backed off a lot on drinking in general, is because I don't like that.
But
So
Bourbon Street is a fucking circus. Like we crossed it and went down. We went down it like once and we crossed it several times. It was
oh
a
my god,
circus.
just having to drive, just
We
literally
drove through
all I
Bourbon
did was
Street was horrible.
cross.
Oh, yeah,
all
you
I did
crossed
was
it?
cross Bourbon Street, and it took 20 minutes.
Because people were just standing in the road.
Yeah,
like
just
there
staring.
wasn't oncoming traffic. Like
Yeah, just staring at you like you're the one in the wrong, even though there's clearly like a stop sign. There's like
there's
people-
roads.
there's
Like
roads. There's like
there's cars
traffic
parked
flow.
on the road. Like
Yeah, it was obvious that we were supposed to be able to drive there, but people were not moving. And
then all of a sudden a cop came behind us and like flashed our lights and then people started fucking moving out of the way
Yeah.
right as you were like going around them.
yeah, I literally like had to curb the truck to get around the freaking morons just staring us down.
And I wanted him to honk, but also at the same time, you never know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Lesson learned: don't honk at people, pedestrians, because you could get attacked.
Yeah.
Found that out in a major city in a big truck. Don't do that. Anyway, got past Bourbon Street, which you should tell them about the interesting facts about Bourbon Street that you learned.
Oh, so like half of Bourbon Street is all gay bars now, and they call it the gayborhood. So like one half is like your frat parties, type vibe, and
Yeah.
the other half is just the gayborhood.
And the way that Christian,
Yeah,
the
which
way that
sounds like
Christian
so
put,
much fun.
the way that Christian put it was, if you want to have a good time, go to the gayborhood. If you want to get shot, go to the other end.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh,
Yeah.
all
And
right.
he did highly recommend for our listeners that do want to go there for Mardi Gras, he highly recommended not leaving Bourbon Street
Yeah,
during
I've
Mardi
heard
Gras.
that myself many a time.
Yeah.
If you're going to Mardi Gras, don't leave Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
You will get robbed. You will get whatever.
Also, he recommended for people who are older or just don't necessarily want to deal with the like craziness
Yeah,
of Bourbon
if you're no
Street,
longer 21, just getting shit-faced drunk, there's a different street.
called Frenchman, which is like the more laid back version,
which we never found.
which we did not, but like I just don't. I mean, Bourbon Street is Bourbon Street, like that's where they do Mardi Gras. I
Yeah.
get it, but like literally all of the French Quarter is nothing but bars. All the restaurants sell
Yeah.
alcohol, like all of
Every
them.
single place has alcohol
Yeah,
available
so
still.
like what is the hype about Bourbon Street other than when it's Mardi Gras?
Right.
But literally they're celebrating Mardi Gras there 365 it seems like.
No. There, like it felt like everything was celebrating Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it may have been because we were very close to the 31st of October when we got there. But no, it just felt like with the major voodoo theme that was maintained throughout all the French Quarter, it felt like you got kind of like the spooky vibe all the time.
Oh, and we went to that apothecary
Oh yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
day,
yeah.
which was like basically just like they had some like mostly taxidermy,
Yeah.
and like some cool like Victorian era like relics. They had some hair like Victorian hair sculptures, um, and like different things like that. It was all kind of like death themed,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Are
I
you
did
talking about
kind of like,
the dark something or
yeah,
another?
I did
Yeah.
kind of boohoo because they had like real taxidermied octopus tentacles like encapsulated in resin to
And
like
the lady
yeah,
instantly told her, she's like, look, they came from a sushi bar. If we didn't take them, they were going to be disposed of anyway.
yeah. Just don't
So,
like it.
hey, have you ever had octopus? It's really good.
It is actually really good.
So, anyway, um, yeah, I mean, all of it was really fun. Um, I'm trying to
The
think
thing
what else.
about that place was the books.
Yeah,
We were
we got
all
a
over the
list.
books.
Yeah, we have a list of books that we were trying to find. Which, to be fair, okay, for anyone who finds a book out in the wild and is like, oh, I'm sure I could find that somewhere cheaper or whatever, it's not actually always the case. Some of those books were actually cheaper in person.
Yeah.
Like,
They had this really cool book that I definitely wanted like find and buy, which was fucked up taxidermy from around the world. And
yeah,
they had photos from like of old, really fucked up taxidermy,
yeah.
which is awesome.
The one book that we did buy was kind of like I couldn't help myself. I really had to have it.
The Vampires of New Orleans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the history of the vampires of New Orleans, and it had like Anne Rice's part and the the series that we talked about that was connectivity to Vampire Diaries, the originals. That's all in that book and stuff. And I looked for it online, and it was within like 50 cents
I have a
of.
question for you. Do you have a complete works of Edgar Allan Poe?
I do.
You have all of the works
I don't think I have all of them, but it says it's a complete works.
of his poetry or his short
It's
stories or
got both.
both? Okay.
It's got both. I just don't know if it's got everything because he's got like two books that are actual books,
Right.
and I don't know if I have those.
Gotcha.
Never got that far. So
Random question. ADHD sidebar.
yeah, um, yeah. Speaking of that, we did find a while we were looking for the broom for our wedding, we were like, oh my god, Michael's had a Edgar Allan Poe aesthetic
Section for
section, and we're
Halloween.
like, that's pretty much what we want our place to be like.
Yeah, and then the other night Amanda was at Michael's and texted us and she's like, "Oh, the Halloween is 70% off." So for the first time in our lives for both of us,
For both of
we
us,
rushed into the vehicle and ran to the store because there was a sale. And we
yeah,
got a few pieces. They didn't have everything we were hoping to get, but
no, but I will, yeah, absolutely. That was the first time I've ever just flat out been like, Grandma, take the kids. We're ditching so we can go shopping. I was like,
one of the
what
things
is,
we both don't enjoy.
we got to the light in town and was like, what are we doing?
I know you were like, "I'm gonna go out for a cigarette," and I was like, "Amanda just texted me that the Halloween stuff at Michael's is 70% off," and you were like, "Oh," I was like, "We're going."
Yeah, yeah. And I did not disagree. I was like, nope, nope, load up. I'll smoke on the way there. So, yeah.
So yeah, that completes the trip to New Orleans. We
Yeah.
kind
On
of oh
on the way back, I made the biggest blunder of them all. And to be fair, I'm not the one that really cared about this, but I wanted to make sure she got the stop in. So
I have always wanted to go to Woodstock, where Woodstock actually happened.
and I was under the impression that that was in Virginia. To be fair, I was wrong.
Because there's a
I found
Woodstock,
out
Virginia.
I found out very quickly I was wrong, and I explained genuinely to Cassie where it was, that I'm sorry, that's not anywhere near where we're headed or our route at all, and I apologized, but I felt like a complete and utter
Yeah,
moron.
because Woodstock's in New York.
Yeah, it's in Bethel, New York, which is outside of New York City.
Yeah.
And so we, like, I made myself, forcibly made myself drive through. Cassie drove for like a couple hours, but I forced us to get to Woodstock before we stopped for any real reason. And got there, walked straight into the gas station, and asked the lady, I was like, hey, just dumb question, do you know where like the Woodstock event happened? um like it should be around here somewhere. And she goes, you mean like the hippie vibe? And I was like, yeah, like the hippie vibe. And I'm like, doing the weird like nervous tick. And she's like, that was in New York. And I'm like, no fucking way. And she goes, yeah, you're not the one that's interested in it, are you? And I was like, nope, most definitely am not. She goes, don't worry, it happens more often than you'd think, because there's a big freaking billboard that says welcome to Woodstock. And I was like, yeah, that's actually how I came across it.
Yeah, and then you said you wanted to go to some caverns in Virginia, and we didn't even
Right,
go.
because I don't remember where it is, but there's like a couple museums and a couple caverns, like cave, like you can do spelunking for fairly cheap, right off of Interstate 81 running through Virginia. And we just came through at the most god awful hour for any of that to happen. So
Yeah, like we got to like the north at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, we stopped in,
Me, what I wanted to do was like if there was like the world's largest ball of yarn or some dumb
which
shit
none
like
of
that,
that was
the
allowed.
world's largest frying pan, any of that shit.
Yeah,
That's what I want to do.
none of that was
Like,
anywhere close to where
and I'd
we
like
are.
to go like see the Grand Canyon because I've never seen that, which was not in our route.
No,
Like,
hell no, that's in Arizona.
yeah, I know. And like, um, I mean, I would like to go back to Gettysburg. I love Gettysburg. It's a beautiful place. Um, but that's like a trip that I'd like to take the kids on.
Right. I feel
Yeah.
like that's going to be a boring trip to them because it's
Maybe when they get
strictly
older.
historical.
Actually, it's a bike trail. The
Okay.
battlefield is a bike trail. And Annie
Right.
loves riding her bike, so maybe.
Maybe.
At least it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. A lot's changed.
Yeah.
Um, but Cassie did get to experience real sit down truck stop cafe food
Yeah.
for, I don't know
The
whether it'd be
Iron
the first
Skillet.
time, but yeah, we went to the Iron
I
Skillet
mean,
in
I don't know. My
Carlisle.
dad always loved Waffle House. When we would travel, we ate Waffle House.
Yeah, I mean,
Waffle
we had a
House.
Waffle House while we were there.
Yes, we would go Waffle House, Shoney's, which we did not do Shoney's, but I got Zaxby's, so I'll take it
Yeah,
because
I've never
Zaxby's
had
is fucking
Zaxby's.
bomb. Yeah, I love Zaxby's. I texted my mom and she's like, "You bitch."
Right. And yeah, getting back, we were both really, really tired though, because we called the babysitter and was like, hey,
We got
like,
back at like what, like 6 p.m. or some shit.
yeah, it was surprising. We took longer to get back, obviously, because we stopped in multiple times, but and actually flat out stopped for over an hour to just sleep.
Yeah.
Because again, where Cassie should have been sleeping while I was driving, she wasn't sleeping, and when she would drive, she couldn't drive for very long because she was tired, and I was conked the fuck out. But I would get up and drive for a few more hours, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. So, and then we slept in Woodstock, Virginia, in the truck for like an hour and 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
I know that because I looked at the clock, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't sleep anymore. Why can't I sleep anymore?" So I
Because you
just,
were laying in the fucking front seat of the truck.
yeah, she woke me up to get me out of the back seat into the front seat.
No, that wasn't in Woodstock. That
No,
was the
I
stuff
know, I
before.
know, but at that point, that's what. So yeah, we stopped at a rest area. She's like, I can't drive any further. Just take a nap. And then, like, 2 minutes into being there, she's like, can we switch? Like, can I just sleep in the back? And I was like, all right, fine,
Because
whatever.
I definitely ain't sleeping in the front seat.
Yeah. So I got up in the front seat and just instantly was like, nope, just driving. Just gonna drive until I can't drive anymore. And Woodstock wasn't that far away. So I was like, I will make it to Woodstock,
Virginia.
Virginia. And
So we have a trip to Bethel coming up eventually because
yeah,
I'm going
because
there.
that's realistically not that far. I mean, not it's not a crazy distance for us to travel.
Well, New
So
York City is like 4 hours from us,
yeah,
so
four, 5. But I mean, it's still that's not a 24-hour straight through drive for us.
no.
So
So yeah, that was. Ah, did I tell them about the salad at the wedding? Because I just
no,
thought about
God, can we
that.
not?
No, that's gotta happen because that was fucking funny.
It wasn't
So
funny at the time because I was getting yelled at by several people for
we
it.
got the food catered by somebody that works for the same agency as me, and she made everything and put it in foil trays. And right before the wedding, Stewart just put all the trays right in the oven without checking to see what
Okay,
anything was.
okay,
And one of those trays was salad.
allow me to like defend myself a little bit. A, I wasn't supposed to go pick up anything in the first place, but I had to because the day of, she was like, "Oh, got called into work early. Can just come pick it up?" So I had to go pick it up. B, the person that brought it out to me just handed me 3 trays at once and said, "Here you go, have a nice wedding." Nothing's marked, no identification whatsoever. I was in a rush to get over to where we were doing the venue and had to do the walkthrough. The guy just turned on the freaking ovens for me to warming setting and was like, "Yeah, when you're ready, just pop them in there. They'll be fine. And this is how you turn them off." He didn't tell me how to turn them on, how to adjust them, nothing, because they're not clearly marked. And I was like, "All right, they're just going to stay there until I am ready to turn them off." And then, the hecticness of setting up for the wedding was going down. And out of the blue, Cassie like hollers across the whole venue at me. She's like, "Did we ever put the food in the warmer?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." So I just tossed everything in. Yeah. But now, unfortunately, it was just Jeremy and I that both ate the freaking salad, but it wasn't bad because I pulled it out, I put it immediately in the fridge, in like their huge fridge, let it cool off for a decent amount of time. And then I ate it. Jeremy ate it, and he's like, "Dude, it wasn't bad. It just sucked we didn't have any dressing." And I was like,
Yeah, we didn't have any
"Yeah,
fucking dressing.
yeah. I really wish we had like ranch or something. 'Cause that sucked."
Yeah, we were not as prepared as we thought we were. We'll just put it that way.
Well, we weren't prepared for the small stuff. That's the problem. Like the outside of the wedding itself, we weren't prepared because the wedding, other than one blunder, which is strictly down to the fact that we didn't do a walkthrough
Yeah.
or like a single pass, we we didn't put a drink in the goblet or the
Our
uh,
cup that we
yeah,
had to
our
drink
cup.
from, there was
Yeah,
no drink in it.
so we
Pretend sipped.
pretend sipped, and it was definitely awkward. Like everyone giggled, and that was the thing. But since we've been back, though, um, trying to think if there's been anything crazy. No, no real significant updates other than I might have to actually officially change out the starter because it's been going. Something's going nuts with the truck here the
Yeah.
last few days. Oh, I know what else. Um, the kids got to see their first in theaters movie.
Yeah, yesterday we went and saw the Paw Patrol movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the kids and Cassie did. I took the cousin to
Five
Five
Nights at
Nights at Freddy's,
Freddy's, and
and
she
she
only
walked
lasted.
out.
Yeah.
She was scared. Not too long into the movie, so I was like, "All right, well, we're walking around the mall then, I guess." But yeah, that was fine.
And he's super excited about the new Trolls movie, and I told her I'd take her.
hmm Yeah, and Cassie has already made it kind of a suggestion that since Eli didn't sit well through the movie, that maybe she take Annie to Trolls, and then when Eli gets a little bit bigger, we'll do a guys' night movie, something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, deal. But to keep back on track with our original setup here, I have a fact of the day and you have a word of the day.
Okay.
All right.
What's your fact of the day?
So, on November 20th, 1923, the traffic signal that we know of today was officially patented. American Garrett Morgan was awarded the patent for an automated traffic signal. Morgan's invention was not the first traffic signal, but it was unlike any other, seeing as it had 3 lights instead of 2. Now there was a warning for drivers when the light was about to change into the stop position, aka the red light. So today's yellow light was patented in 1923.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I have hiatus,
Oh
which
boy.
I knew that word.
Yeah, I did too.
The short version is a gap.
Yeah.
The long version, an interruption in time or continuity. Break, especially a period when something as a program or activity is suspended or interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Denise put her weekly podcast on hiatus to give herself time and headspace to settle into her new job.
Hey, maybe we should have had that message before the wedding. That word of the day before the wedding.
Did you know hiatus comes from hiere, a Latin verb meaning to gape or to yawn, and first appeared in English in the 16th century. Originally, the word referred to a gap or opening in something, such as a cave opening in a cliff. In the 18th century, British novelist Lawrence Sterne used the word humorously in his novel Tristram Shandy, writing of the hiatus in Futatorius, Futatorius's breeches. These days,
Whose britches?
I don't fucking know. Phutatorius.
Just sounds like you were getting into somebody's pants.
Futatorius. I don't fucking know. These days, hiatus is usually used in a temporal sense to refer to a pause or interruption, as in a song, or a period during which an activity is temporarily suspended, as in a hiatus from teaching.
Cool.
So that was that.
Yeah. So, if you haven't figured out where to find us by this point, I don't know why, but you should tell other people that you can find us on any podcasting platform under This and That with Me and You. And we did find out that it really does work because several of the tour guides checked us out and were able to find us on Spotify, definitely.
Yes. And if you want to talk to us directly, we have a Facebook and an Instagram that we never go on,
Yeah.
and a TikTok that we sometimes check under This and That with Me and You. And you can also email us with personal stories, questions, suggestions.
Mm-hmm. And that email is tatwmay1 at gmail.com.
tatwmay1@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you're looking for the pictures and stuff, which we're going to get back now that the wedding's over and all the hecticness of life is back to norm.
Are you going to finish Billy the Kid Part 2?
I'm going to this week. I'm going to work on it.
Okay.
I'll get it out there before this actually comes out. So, videos are obviously found on YouTube. That's where you'll find more often you'll find the photos there.
We do post them on Facebook sometimes.
We do post them on Facebook, and the photos associated with today's episode are most definitely going to be able to be found under Cassie's personal Facebook. So if you're interested, go check that out. And as far as TikTok goes, now that we're done and can get back into a normal routine, we'll get caught up on those. We kind of fell behind. Life happened. Trying to get married happened. So we'll get us all back on track and hope to see you in the next round.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Have a day.
Yeah, have a day.
Or have the day that you deserve.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.